What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Valley coming at you with the certified fantabulous Mr. Grant Hughes. We're here to talk about something we don't really do or haven't done in the past. Is we've done probably summer league takeaways, but never anything like too deep. We kind of like going into the regular season with more of a blank slate of these guys. But no, we're going to dig deep into summer league. We begin with the Western Conference. We decided last minute. I threw it on Grant. I proposed it, and he's willing to roll along with it. To kind of wrap up how we're talking about each player, we're going to do start, bench, or G League as to where you would put these guys, assuming some of them don't have contracts yet. What would you do with them? That might be a fun little way. The way that we kind of pluck these out is every first-round pick that's suited up at any point in Summer League, so the California Classic, Vegas, Salt Lake City, the whole nine, they will be talked about. And then for teams that didn't have someone who fell into that, it's kind of just like, okay, was there a second-round prospect that intrigued us? Or if they didn't have one of those, like the Lakers guy didn't suit up, we just go to the undrafted guy that intrigued us the most, and we're just going to talk about them. But before we talk about them, Grant, how are you doing?
I'm prepared to learn because you put a ton of work into this and you watched more Summer League basketball, certainly than I watch, and that most normal people would ever agree to watch. So I'm going to pepper in questions that I have based on like pre-draft evaluation and maybe anything I've heard or seen. But I am going to come to you, I think, for in addition to the start bench G League, which is final forever, by the way. If we say a guy is a G Leaguer, his career's over. So these are going to lock in. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited to pick your brain a little bit on especially some of these guys because Summer League, as you know, is just, it can be a bit of a black box. Numbers mean something and then they don't. The context is hard to sort of parse. So looking forward to this and excited to be taught all about Summer League by you.
That's a scary proposition for everybody. It's funny. I find myself getting and I think it is part of the nature of social media is I get more defensive about the things I write or say, which is I feel like I closed the last podcast like erroneously yelling at a Denver Nuggets fan that wasn't even yelling at me. You told me in the comments. So apologies to them again, but it's just I get so tired, especially after something like this, the number of tags are like, well, you clearly didn't watch this. And I was like, if I have to watch one more possession from Will Richard, like I'm going to like grind my teeth into dust. And no offense to Will Richard. I just don't enjoy Summer League. But so the things that we look at when we're talking about Summer League is a lot of the efficiency and the actual raw numbers just get thrown out the window. It's a lot of eye test stuff. One of the things that I think are really tough to track is turnovers. Not tough to track, but when I'm talking about them, if we bring them up, it's because I actually think there's a problem. This wasn't just yes, there's always going to be the Summer League. You don't play with these guys normally for the most part. And then especially when it's like a primary playmaker trying to throw the ball to bigs, like the bigs at this level, just a lot of them have trouble catching it or just aren't in the right spot. And again, you're not on the same wavelength. So if we bring up turnovers, we're not, if someone had half their turnovers was like, oh, it's not their fault. That's not what we're citing when we're citing turnovers. And so that's why some of these guys had like games with like 6 turnovers. And I'm coming away like, man, their playmaking is really good. That's how I approach Summer League, and it's probably overly positive, but I think that's fine. It's like we're just trying to get these general impressions and a snapshot of where do we think these guys are at? Are we more or less intrigued by them than we were when they were drafted?
Would you say, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it feels like I think we kind of approach it the same way. Would you say that when you're evaluating like turnovers, are they a problem type of thing? What you're really doing with that and with other skills or lack of skills is kind of trying to, as best you can, project like, will this be a problem or is this a carrying skill like going forward? Like in the type of player that this guy ultimately becomes, like where does this particular issue or positive thing sit, right? Like there is like some forecasting involved. So like to that turnover example, it's like if the big guy that's underneath can't catch the ball and the guard you're talking about has 5 turnovers, well, that's not something that projects forward. But if it's like, well, he lacks strength and keeps getting stripped, like then, okay, that's something we might worry about in a point guard, for example. Like that kind of the lens you view it through.
Yeah, and a lot of the things too is like not even like I try and throw the handle out the window because sometimes the spacing is so poor, but it's just like where are they throwing their passes? But like you said, is it this or are they just dribbling into Travis? They're not a directionality to the way they play. But yeah, we have like 30 names to get to, so I feel like we should get started, and we're gonna flip it. We're not gonna go alphabetically. We're gonna go in reverse alphabetical order, which means, excuse me, wrong scene. What do we begin with, Grant?
We've got the Utah Jazz, and I'm just ecstatic that we're starting here. We have Ace Bailey as their first. They also have Walter Clayton Jr., but I want you to talk to me about Ace Bailey first. One of the most interesting draft prospects, like full stop, just because of the pluses and minuses. What did you see from him on the good side of the ledger and on the more concerning side of the ledger? And just any stray thoughts on, if you care to, like how much does all the pre-draft, like lack of interviews and any of that stuff, like did you see? You can't really learn that much about him that way in summer league, but
I mean, he played two whole games. I think I know
right.
everything there is to know.
You
about
can nail
Ace Bailey.
down his whole personality profile. Is he like an
Right.
ENTJ or like a what are the Myers-Briggs thing? Tell me about Ace Bailey.
So he does not play like someone who did not want to be in Utah, which I don't think that anyone expected him to be. You look at what I was kind of impressed with is it's cool that he could get off these like ultra difficult jumpers. Those are not going in just yet, and so like I still believe in his shot creation overall, but I thought he was at his best when he was kind of playing within the flow of the offense. And it's, again, like I said, it is a feature that he can get off those off the dribble threes, those fadeaway jumpers. But when he's playing with him, when he's coming in for cuts or like hitting those corner threes, and there was like some no dip action like he might have showed there as well. I think the thing that I was probably most impressed with was just the energy on defense, and then specifically on the glass too. Like this was someone who was coming in like really trying to, and he has really good size. He looked bigger, like being exposed to him a little bit more. He looked bigger than like you're anticipating when you see what he's listed at. And so I think that he's going to end up being like really valuable there as maybe a second effort guy when he doesn't have the ball necessarily. And I was honestly expecting them to have the ball in his hands even more when you look at what his profile is going to be for Utah, you think moving forward. But it also kind of gives me hope to where it's, oh, they might try to balance this. And I think I think there's value in saying, hey, here's this player, like Jalen Wells with Memphis this year. We're going to put the ball in his hands a ton in Summer League to see what he could do there. But if that's not the role that you're even going to sniff at the next, I mean, maybe he's preparing for that Desmond Bane type leap. Who knows? So I think there was value in trying to strike that balance with Ace Bailey. And so when you look at the offensive armory again, I think the on-ball stuff is there. The passing is going to have to get better, though. Like that's a thing for him is like he can get some kind of just, it's not tunnel vision, but it just, like, he can be very singularly focused. But I came away feeling better about Ace Bailey overall.
Do you think, and I'll only say this once because it's going to apply to like every question I ask you, this caveat. It's too early to say for sure. Like just blanket that throughout every player we talk about. Do you think that, because part of the appeal of Bailey landing in Utah was they don't have a cornerstone. He's the most talented guy left on the board, like by a fair amount. That was the consensus. Maybe he's a cornerstone. It sounds like to me what you're saying is that at least for the moment, he's got a lot more like supporting player skills in it, at least as far as the cutting and the defense and the glass stuff. Do you think? Did you see anything in Summer League that made it seem likely to you that he is maybe the on-ball, like first option, everything's built around this guy player?
Yes, and I would point to, again, the sample size is just so terribly small. No turnovers while getting a ton of on-ball looks and going into the lane and not having right now. Again, he flashed some of them, but maybe not having a ton of counters. So when I look at that, like the ball control in this setting where it's, okay, Summer League is just sort of this chaos. There might be lineups where there's great spacing in there, but the fact that he did feel like he was constantly playing under control, you look at that and you say, all right, like I could see that. And some of the shots he could get off, like when he's kind of getting to a fadeaway, it's okay. Like he has the size to get that off. I'm curious to see how more of the face up stuff, the off the dribble three specifically, like what does that come to be like for him? But yeah, like if there was a concern that he wanted to be the guy so badly he wouldn't be able to figure out how to toggle between different modes. I had my concern just based, you read those reports, so that's how you're gonna like feel. But I came away just unconcerned about that. Like I think he's gonna figure out a way to fit in while also standing out.
All right, slightly smaller scale, lower stakes. Still an interesting player, Walter Clayton Jr.
Start, bench, or G League?
Oh, I'm asking you.
You have to start him, right? Like you just have.
Well, if you're the Jazz and you're not starting him, what are you doing? Like, why not? Why wouldn't you?
I'm with you. Yeah, but so please take us to this next dude.
Yeah, Walter Clayton Jr. So, do the Jazz have another starting point guard prospect that's gonna tantalize us and then maybe not quite be good enough?
I mean, look, it's summer league, so maybe I'm just a little, called him McNeely. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? I've watched too much summer league. I'm maybe a little Walter Clayton Jude pilled right now. I think like he's gonna up their entertainment factor by a value of infinity. I think a lot of the people, the scouts who'd watched him in school were like, oh, he could just get off any type of shot, and they really just weren't. They weren't kidding. Like he was coming around screens, he was using escape and gather dribbles, he was snaking pick and rolls, he was getting defenders on his back hip, dribbling into runners, attacking right only to kind of pivot left, and even had some moves after picking up his dribble. So I came away looking at him. I don't know if he's going to have, I think he's going to take a lot of bad shots because he thinks that he can make all of them. So when you look at what's going to happen at the NBA level, but man, there's also a plug and play to the way that he scores. He didn't seem like someone who was going to hijack possessions either. I don't know how to feel about him as a playmaker just yet.
Okay.
I think it's encouraging that with the exception of one instance, he didn't really have these massive turnover issues, but I didn't come away thinking, oh, this is maybe someone who could lead the entire offense. At the same time, I still think Isaiah Collier is probably, unless I'm misremembering who else is on their roster, I think Isaiah Collier is still pretty clearly the best passer on this team.
Got it. Start bench or G League for Clayton Jr.
I think he needs to be. I mean, it's what Utah is doing. I think he should absolutely be on the bench. I mean, this is also someone though. When you look at Isaiah Collier or Keontae George, if you're the Jazz, Grant, or your head coach Will Hardy, you really ruling out maybe this guy is kind of starting on because you have Bryce Sensabaugh, you have a whole bunch of players, but it's not as cut and dry as Ace Bailey. But it wouldn't shock me if by the end of the season he is starting.
No, I mean, not with the way that George was the guy until Collier was, and then maybe Collier's the guy until Clayton is. So that's what it's a. I don't think G League is in play. I think it's start is actually a consideration for him at some point. I think during the season.
He's also someone who could probably benefit just from getting, if you're not going to give him a ton of minutes or on ball reps. That could certainly help him by going to the G League, of course.
Yeah. All right, let's move to the San Antonio Spurs. They've got a couple of, just like Utah, one high lottery pick and a later pick that's also interesting for very different reasons. Dylan Harper, number 2 overall. What did you see? What did you like most from him, and any concerns on the other side?
So the efficiency wasn't there. I think that we could say this about everybody. But for someone who was dealing with a groin issue, where it was how much is he going to play? Is he going to play? He was moving. What does he look like when he's fully healthy and not dealing with a groin issue because of the way he moves? I was the thing that's going to translate, and I think everyone kind of understood this. He's just going to get downhill. He's going to draw contact. He's going to get to the foul line. So if you're the Spurs, you're super confident in that. I thought the live dribble playmaking has a long way to go, but I also don't know how much of some of that was a timing thing with his teammates who, again, he hasn't known or played with before. But there were just some passes where it's kind of why did you throw that? So, it felt like it was happening in slow motion and made defenses able to read it. But the overall control he has on the ball, incredible. The things that stood out to me, the defensive energy, I'll probably say that a lot with this guy. He was a lot tougher to move on that side of the ball. And then, again, while the numbers aren't going to support this when you're looking at the efficiency, his ability to move away from the ball and kind of understanding, the spots he needs to get to when it's whether in transition or in the half court, that's really going to be big because what we've talked about is a potential concern, not, an irreversible concern is you have De'Aaron Fox, Steph Castle, and Dylan Harper. You're going to play 2 of them at some point, but can you even get to a stage, can you play all 3 of them? I think Steph Castle's defense and ability to guard up opens all sorts of opportunities. So I came away feeling better about slotting him alongside one or both of them if you want to get really kooky with your lineups.
So that was, maybe that's, you can roll this into the start bench G League question. What did you see from him, if anything, that maybe gives you a clearer sense of where he fits skill-wise, specifically with Fox and or Castle? What is he doing? What is he providing that the Spurs won't get from those 2 guys? And maybe what does he not do well that either of those 2 guys might make up for?
So I think that what pretty clearly I think he does better is you're not looking at De'Aaron Fox or Steph Castle and thinking that's someone who could classify as a motion shooter. I think Dylan Harper could probably do that and do it quite well, which, again, that helps because it allows you to move him off the ball. And I think right now De'Aaron Fox is kind of going to, I mean, no surprise, De'Aaron Fox has been in the league for like almost a decade at this point. I don't know where he's going to rank between the two when it comes to his playmaking. I think when you look at just the live dribble and the handle itself, I could see him being someone who runs your offense, but when you're weighing him against De'Aaron Fox, then also Steph Castle, it probably, I guess you have to give the edge to Harper if he's the guy that defenses won't go under against or sag off of. But like, there's a chance that he ends up being like ranking 3 of 3 when it comes to, well, let's rank these guys as passers. I don't know. I wouldn't predict. I really like him. I'm higher on him than I am Steph Castle overall, who's a fantastic defender already. It feels like he'll end up being the more complete offensive player, but there is specifically 2 areas where I think you could look at Steph Castle and say, oh, he's going to be better than him on defense, but is there a chance that he'll be a little bit better of a playmaker, which is a weird thing to say when you look at Castle's limitations, but all this, like, and by the way, you have like all 3 of these guys, and certainly Fox and Harper, like they all profiles like, oh, if they get downhill, like they will draw fouls.
Right.
What, like if we fast forward 3, well, maybe Fox in 3 years, I don't know how old he'll be, but yeah. What do you do with him? Yeah, I know you're asking me, but I think he comes off the bench to start, right? Because you don't want to, I think for what he does, you like want to stagger him from Fox a little bit, just because both of them provide elements that you're most likely not going to get from Castle right now.
I think that's right, and it's also not the worst thing to have him out there against backups, at least for his first half minutes, for example. And you can really game it so that he really does spend most of his time, like starting the second quarter or the fourth quarter. So I do think you play Fox and Castle over him. But as we're talking about it, it does really feel to me like Castle's the guy that is kind of in for a tough test, because I agree with you that I think you want the ball in either Harper's or Fox's hands first, and that kind of puts Castle in an off-ball role where defenses don't take him seriously, and so he just has to, for all this to work, I think Castle either has to prove he's going to make open shots or do the even harder thing, which is prove that he's a better on-ball playmaker than either of the other 2 guards that he's vying for minutes against. And like that, I don't see at all, because it's just that hasn't been his game.
Do you think he's like big enough and strong enough to he'll be like, especially because you have Wemby as a floor spacer and Cornette could technically space the floor and Kelly Olynyk's on this person? Like, do you consider just using Castle as a screener in some of those like dual or triple guard lineups?
Implicit in that is like he's kind of a 3. A lot of the time. So, and I guess he's probably big enough to guard up, but he will run into matchups that are just like, I don't love him constantly on like a 6'9", 230 small forward. That's not a good setup for him. I think the Castle dynamics can be really interesting. So, we're benching Harper, but it's a for your own good benching.
He's not going to the G League.
No, that's out. Carter Bryant. From what I saw, Dan, this guy can guard and not do a whole heck of a lot else. Has that been your assessment?
Yeah, pretty much. We can move on. So we'll bring him off the bench, and that'll be. I will say he did. I was really starting to worry about the 3-point shot, and then he went 4 of 6 in that final game against Charlotte. So I think he can hit those. And when you're gonna get, like, when you're getting passes from, it'll be Harper and Castle and Fox. It should, like, the look should be higher quality. NBA spacing should help him a ton. I don't think you need him to do a ton on all. Like, he'll show some hustle on the glass too. Like, had some of those moments, so I think that's good. But when you look at his defense, Grant, I'm trying to think of like who this summer, like, and played as many like games, by the way, because he ended up playing in 6 summer league games. I don't know who maintained, like, in recent memory, a better, and as like a not a big, let's say, just a better ceiling on the defensive end, because he profiles as a 3-4, but I think he can guard basically everybody. Okay. And for the Spurs to just wind up with him next to Victor Wembanyama, next to Stephon Castle, holy hell. Like, this is just, and when I looked at him, because the way he moves he's another player where I was watching him and it was, he just looks like a lot bigger and stockier than I was expecting. He's 6'8", he looks a little bigger, he's strong, and he's not like the quickest, but like he understands like time and placement. He's obviously he's long enough. He has a 7-foot wingspan. I don't think he doesn't need lateral foot speed to go out and switch on to a guard. He's just going to envelop everybody of all sizes, of all different prototypes. You can't really dribble around him. It's an exercise in futility. And he's got shot blocking instincts too, like on or away from the ball. If I thought he was going to play enough, and you could probably make the case that he fills a bigger need for the Spurs right now than Dylan Harper does. He would be like a nice under the radar rookie of the year pick, but we always gravitate towards scores, and I don't know how much he's going to play, so I won't go that far.
Is it fair to say that? I guess I have two questions. Maybe let's frame it this way, and you can sort of answer the start bench G League through this. You can get there through this. Is he someone that defenses will care about? Because this is the Spurs, and we don't know what their floor and ceiling is going to be, but because they have Wemby and because his ceiling is so high, it's reasonable to consider questions like this. Could Bryant be someone that is in the rotation in a playoff series or in big regular season games and be taken seriously on offense so you can get his defense on the floor? Because it has to be, because he can't really do anything else but make threes, right? Like offensively. So like maybe you disagree with that, but I'm just trying to get to the bottom of like, if the Spurs are any good at all, can he matter?
Yes, I think just his archetype, when you look at even if you don't want him dribbling, his archetype just still becomes hyper valuable because of what he does defensively. I think he could probably. I would say I'm closer to agreeing with you than not. I think with something like he has sometimes a do too much factor, but like if you need him to attack like a straight line closeout or something, or just some of the passes he might be catching, I think he'll be more than fine. I think what's going to be challenging, and this is interesting when you're looking at it through all the teams, is how do you develop his offensive role on a team that's trying to be good? Because I think when you look at some of these players, you worry a lot of times about, will defense keep this rookie off the floor? And the answer for some of these guys, like even a VJ Edgecombe, who we'll talk about later this week, that's a no. Like like the defense is not what's going to keep him off the floor. It is the offense. And when you're a Spurs team that hasn't had phenomenal spacing around Wemby and you're not guaranteed to do so necessarily next season, I don't know how much of an immediate factor he is, but I do think over time,
sure,
I think that we'll look back and say, okay, is he like? Think about OG Anunoby's offensive bag, and there's like a little bit more explosion there, and he has some more daring due to what he does. But it wouldn't shock me if it's something like that, to where it's we'd like to see him branch out a little bit more, and there's moments where it looks like he can, but overall, I think it's just the threes will fall at a higher clip. And ultimately, I think that's all that matters when you look at what he does defensively.
You know, as we're talking about him, Shane Battier kind of comes to mind as like a guy that's out there because he can guard everybody. He's always in the right spot. And if he makes 2 threes, great game, right? Like, because that means he has to be honored out there. And that's really all you need from this player type. I still think that player type is valuable, even though one of the things I've been thinking about a lot is like, does everybody have to be able to do something with the ball to be on like a really good, like deep playoff team at this point? The Thunder would suggest the answer is no, but like, it
does feel like we're going through a phase of, though, like teams want size with pass, dribble, shoot type decision making, though, right?
Yeah. And he's not that right now, but again, I agree with you. So he's a bench, right? Like he's not a starter, but like he's also not someone you just send down to the G League.
I do think we look back, and maybe this is rolling the dice a little bit, and this is going to be someone who's like one of the 5 or 7 best players in the class. And that's like, as someone who's pretty high on a lot of these guys now because I spent too much time watching them. Stay tuned for my Alex Toohey optimism.
Well, I get it though, because he has a superpower, and because he can just guard anybody, right? It's like easy to project forward from that.
I do think if people haven't dug into him yet, I watch him, and sometimes his defense doesn't make sense because I'm so used to the way that he's able to guard and the things that he's able to do. I associate like with this raw detonation, not just going straight up to block shots, but like this east-west explosion, and that's just not how he defends, and yet he's kind of suffocating anyway. And I'm putting him next to Wemby and Steph Castle should honestly, like, the NBA should outlaw that in its next collective bargaining agreement.
Man, now we're really going to have to pay attention to him going forward. All right, Sacramento Kings are next in our reverse alphabetical order. Summer League superstar Nique Clifford. So this, I will admit, not super familiar with his game. I'm asking you, do I owe him an apology for not knowing? Because of the guys that generated a lot of buzz, he definitely, to me, was the name where I had to kind of double check the most and be like, who is this again?
So I think he's a bust because the Kings were not Summer League champions, and so the dynasty will fall.
He's not a winner.
I do. So I'll say my actual take is I think he was just the best rookie in Summer League all around. Like when you look at I think playing time's part of that because you could say, oh, what about that second Cooper Flagg game? Yeah, sure. Cooper Flagg is going to be better than Nique Clifford. That's groundbreaking shit. But I think so. I'm trying to figure out before we get into some of the nuance of what I liked about him. He just seems like he's someone who is going to fill gaps for Sacramento, but then strengthen their strength as well. He just in the chat. Hind Kings will probably trade him to the Bulls. Regulator said Nique looked rough his last 2 games. Yeah, I noticed that with some of the guys, but it's just when you're in Vegas or Summer League specifically for that long, I'm just going to excuse you. I think the defensive energy a lot of the time was still rare. You saw it a lot on the offensive end. The offensive end, this is kind of another guy to where it's, all right, I don't know, you want him as your primary ball handler, and he's 6'6", so I will call him a wing, even though, everyone's going to list him as a shooting guard. He has good feel, when you look at his arsenal of passes. The degree of difficulty on some of the threes he shot was actually outrageous. This is the one that's going to live rent-free, and I put it in my notes. He hit a crossover step-back dribble coming off a baseline handoff against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it was just that was the moment for me where it's, oh, all right, this guy has juice. And I don't know if he should sponge up any reps at point guard. If he can, that's huge. That's a huge point guard. Or I shouldn't say point guard, but, someone who we're going to use with Sabonis and be our initiator. That's bigger than DaRon Fox was. And so it's DeMar DeRozan size-ish, basically. And so I don't know if you can use him that way, but if I'm the Kings, I'm in full-on experimental mode. Dennis Schroeder's not, Nique Clifford can't get on ball reps because we got Dennis Schroeder here now on a deal that's probably a little bit too spicy. So the defense too, just I don't know what I didn't like about the defense. He's kind of just he can be everywhere. He can do the playmaking stuff, but he can be a timely rebounder if you needed him to. He just, like I said, he's going to fill gaps, but also strengthen your strengths, and he's not going to require you to change anything about the way you play.
Whose minutes is he chipping away at, and what is the in each case, what is he, in your opinion, going to do better that justifies I knocked off 6 of Keegan Murray's minutes, or 3 of Keon Ellis's, or 4 of Malik Monk's, who, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What you're talking about him as a gap filler, so I'm curious what will he do that will justify him trimming minutes from other guys that are more established?
Dennis Schroeder never should have been acquired. I would be trying to move DeMar DeRozan and or Malik Monk immediately. And I'd probably be DeMar DeRozan just because the downhill stuff, Malik has more of that raw explosion. But if you're looking for someone who's able to maintain a live dribble, going to give you some kind of different angles on his finishes around the basket or even his passes, I think Nique Clifford long-term is going to do more of that than a Malik Monk. And just we know DeMar DeRozan is going to age out by then. This is a move. I don't know. We haven't done our offseason grades, and we will not do our offseason grades until restricted free agency is over, folks. That is not happening.
So November of 2029 at this
point?
Rate?
So just around then. The end of the decade, I would think. But I think I think that this is a move that we're both going to end up loving. It's the Kings did a thing. That was we good, and we liked it. I will say, I don't want to see him take away playing time from Keegan Murray and Keon Ellis, because when I'm looking at this Kings team, I think it's important to have guys that either just have minimal weaknesses or just can fit around everyone. And I think someone like a DeMar DeRozan or even a Malik Monk, when you're looking at planning defensively, those are guys you have to plan around a little bit more than a Nique Clifford, a Keon Ellis, and a Keegan Murray. And also, Keegan Murray, let's figure out a way to try and groom him on offense a little bit more aggressively anyway.
Interesting. All right, let's move to the Portland Trailblazers and the player I think I'm probably most interested to talk to you about. Our guy, Young Handsome.
Handsome. I love that nickname.
I'm going to try so hard to make it stick. We need to find the person and credit them. But so this guy was kind of one of the big stories of Summer League. Everything I saw was at least interesting and occasionally very tantalizing. And I'm curious if over a larger sample you left kind of feeling the same way about him.
And I've gotten better. There are so many things that I'm bad at when it comes to reactionary content. I've gotten better at just we don't destroy picks unless we feel super strongly about a player. So when the Blazers reached for him, I was I don't really know. Sure. Might as well take a swing. Why not? I didn't really know going in what to expect, and watching him, I became very concerned. I'm going to start with the defense, even though I think that the offense is sort of the main attraction for him. I was kind of the same concerns I had with a Donovan Clingan or even a Zach Edey, was, is he going to end up being too slow.
Yeah.
And I think there will be some of that against certain matchups. But, like, this dude can – I don't know. Again, I don't actually know what he can become on defense, but he ran the floor really well, like just kind of end-to-end, not like, crisscrossing or anything complicated, having to navigate that. But he's just kind of huge and knows how to use it. Like, he was a way better shot blocker than I had read or just expected. And I think what really caught my eye is he's another one of those bigs to where, no, it's not like he's getting super low to the ground or has this complicated footwork, but, like, he can backpedal at such, like, with coordination and speed that it's actually hard to get by him because he's most likely playing so far off of you to begin with. I think that this is just, like, do I think he can be the, like, base defender of a top-tier defense? I don't know, but I would have absolutely ruled it out coming in. And so when you have that attached to his offensive arsenal, which is just, like, the passing, and you could see it in Summer League, it makes guys move around him.
That's
like
the
whether
thing.
he's go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that is to me the most conspicuously positive aspect of what I saw, and it's like so few guys have that effect, right? Like how far did we make it into the Hansen conversation before we mentioned Jokic? Like, sorry, it's my fault. It's just like anytime a big guy can pass, but like it's so rare for a player at any position, specifically the big spot, to have the effect on his teammates that he did in Summer League. And these are guys that like probably met him like 3 days before, you know what I mean? It wasn't like they'd like gotten attuned to like, well, when I do this, he'll throw this bounce pass. Like something about him just makes guys move. And like that on its own is valuable because offense is worse when it's stagnant. And if he's out there, it seems like he makes it more dynamic and there's just more movement. So talk about that, and then I totally agree that to me was like, oh, that's a thing.
Regulator says, love that the Blazers trusted their scouting department to make that pick. I mean, like, yeah, that's cool. I think they were in a fortunate position to where, and look, HardwoodKnocks was here first. Like, they were just so stacked when you have so many dudes that you maybe had the leeway to do that. But now I'm looking at this, and like start, bench, or G League. I'm like, should he start over Donovan Clingan? So that's how you know that I'm like too in the Summer League weeds right now. But the other stuff he's doing on offense too, there's like it's like a Gortatian way to how he screens, or whether it's coming off of handoffs, where it's like, you know how you're going to block the path of like your guy behind you. He does that really well. I think when you looked at it, and it was the same game, so I'd have to go back and see, but it was like he did that like 3 times for Caleb Love in one of the Blazers games. I was just like, is there anything he can't do? And it's like, well, you look, is the 3-point shot like going to be proven enough? And the clip wasn't. What did he shoot? I'll look at the percentages. Ended up being like 33% or 33.8%. But like the stroke is there. And I think, Grant, I'm curious how you feel about this. On just a Blazers team that traded away its best shooter in Anthony Simons while getting someone who is worse in Jrue Holiday. You have Damian Lillard, who's not going to play this year. You then signed, were they the Blake Wesley team? Like, that's not going to be someone who improves your shooting. No. I hope I'm not wrong on that. But like his floor spacing, and look at their other bigs. Like, that wasn't something Ayton did last season. Yes, I know he's a Laker now. It's not something Donovan Clingan should really be doing. It's not something RW3 is going to do. I guess you get some of it from Duop Reith. But like, he might be like sneaky important. Is just, you can run pick and pops with him. And you need that because we want Scoot Henderson above, like, and Denny Avdia, of course. But like, more than anyone, I think Scoot Henderson, just like, can we give that guy some space to operate so we kind of understand who Scoot Henderson is by the end of year 3?
Is he someone that you would, because it's related to the spacing question, and maybe this is another like start bench G League kind of way in. To me, very early, it seems like he's someone whose maximal value comes with a lot of touches, right? Because that's how you leverage the passing, that's how you leverage the handoff game, the size, even the shooting. Like, do you see him as someone that can be really successful and help a lot if he isn't like a huge part, like not necessarily the total fulcrum of the offense, but like, do you see what I'm getting at? Like, it feels like the skills that he has are probably best utilized in like a major offensive role. Can he be helpful if he is just kind of standing out there spacing, for example, or if he's, just more of a screen setter and you're not putting the ball in his hands a lot? Is that plausible?
I think it is. I think with what he can do on the ball, like even when it's from a lot of it was outside in stuff, which I actually think is encouraging because he's comfortable putting the ball on the floor. But like if you're going to have him on the block, I think that's probably like just making him maybe not the center of your offense, but a co-fulcrum is where he would shine the most. At the same time, like I do think he can be complementary, and there might even be something to is that better for him early on? Because one of the issues that I think he's going to have is the rebounding was not great. And you did see it on like some of his rolls to the basket where he could be physical and like maybe finish with some force. But you're going to go in the NBA and like you need to be, he'll get stronger, but like he needs to play with more thrust. And I think he has it in him. Like just because we saw, and so like if you put him in the situation of having to screen and then roll, does that force him to play with more thrust? And I think it would, unless he's going to bail out kind of in the short roll, stop for a floater. But he doesn't, he didn't seem to have that. Like if he was going to operate from there, it almost he had to be in the mid post to start. It wasn't, I'm going to stop mid B line to the basket. So I almost think it might be better for him to do more of that so he can experience like, okay, like I need to do better of like figuring out how to adjust to contact or just drawing it in general. But that's an interesting question I hadn't thought about is I think he can scale down, but it does get into the proposition of like, well, do you want him to? And if you don't want him to, what does that mean for Denny Avdia and Scoot Henderson? And Damian Lillard's going to be on this team in 2026, 2027.
Do you think opponents will try, like, is it a viable strategy to guard him with a non-big? Like, is that, you know, in terms of his like willingness to just be physical, if he's guarded by a wing or whatever, like maybe teams try to get away with that if he's out. I don't know if he's ever going to be out there with Klingon, but just hypothetically, like can he punish smaller? Like, is he physical enough? Is he like wired in a way that will just be like, you can't get away with putting a smaller guy on me?
The way that I saw him put the ball on the floor a couple times, and just like if you're going to defend him on the block with a smaller player, he doesn't even need to play with force at that point. And then if you're going to send, and we didn't see this too much. I mean, it's summer league, and he was sort of this unknown quantity. You can't. It's not even you can't send two to the ball on him. Like you can't even like show a second defender because he will find them. But to your question, I think he's capable of it. I just didn't see it happening consistently. And so, yeah, if I'm a team, and he's, especially if he is spacing or if he's going to spend a lot of time on the perimeter, I'm absolutely experimenting with that because that might be one of the way that you limit what we believe to be his superpower, which is just he is so versatile on offense. I just keep coming back to, like, he's going to make the guys on the Blazers just want, I mean, and we'll have to see how he gets integrated there because his role, he's going to have to scale down if you want to see him get minutes with the big club. And then
if he doesn't scale down, it's like, so like, you know, that's why that question is so interesting to me is if he doesn't scale down, the trickle down effect of that is like, okay, so Scoot is just like not our guy anymore as far as our offensive engine or our prospective offensive engine. And like, it changes a ton if he takes on anything approaching like a Jokic role, or even forget that, like some of Alperen Şengün's like higher usage, like full or Sabonis. Like if he takes on that kind of role, suddenly he's in the middle of everything, which is, I mean, great if he's good enough to do that.
How do you approach it with the Blazers, though? So you're running the Blazers now, and you know the outline, the skeleton of Jan Hansen's game. What are you doing? I mean, like, I think Donovan Clayton's really the only player that matters in this discussion because RW3 is always injured, only has a year left on it. He's probably a buyout candidate with the way things are working at this point. What do you like? How do you treat this? I think you could probably split it, but it's just like, who are you more invested in? It's like Donovan Clingan's the higher pick, and we know he has. We're just basing this off a few summer league performances. We know what Hansen's marketable or like most notable skills are, but like Donovan Clingan has proven like he kind of has an NBA level superpower right now.
I think I'm bringing Hansen off the bench for a number of reasons, but not the least of which is like I'm trying to keep Klingen's trade value a little higher if it does turn out that like these guys can't play together and Hansen is like a total like offensive level raiser. I care more about that if I'm the Blazers than Klingon being, you know, one of the 5 or 6 best defensive centers with a lot of other limitations like kind of priced in. If you can play them together, regulators asking Twin Towers maybe, like I think you got to give that a shot. I don't know how successful I think that might be. But yeah, I'm benching him, but I'm very, very open to it.
I'm starting him.
Okay.
This is just like, I understand that's egregious. And I was wrong about Donovan Clingan. I don't remember what I said about it. it was preposterous.
It was easy to be out on him though. Like
right, and so
last year was a big year for like slow non-switch bigs. Like they've made a real comeback, so it was okay to be out on him.
I don't, this is interesting. Regulars is Twin Towers in the chat, and we have so much less chats going on than normal. People don't like the Summer League deep dives, so we'll make a note of this for next year. So, have you noticed? We've noticed that teams are going more to double big, but now it seems like they might be doing so without regard to maybe the spacing compromises they needed to make. And maybe we've seen too much of the Houston Rockets, but Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün together, you add Clint Capella to that. And so I would normally look at this and say, no, Donovan Clingan and Young Hansen, like they can't put, like the lack of foot speed there technically on defense. I don't know what that's going to look like, but it seems like what NBA teams are thinking. And like, because offensive rebounding is a thing again, I understand that aspect of it, but I can't remember who made this point, and I haven't thought about it this way. Maybe it was Nate Duncan, but it feels like NBA teams might now do this without regard for the spacing because on defense, you can play one of these bigs aggressively, and then you have someone else behind them to cover it up. And so it's very easy. I think Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson are kind of a perfect example there. But, like, can you do that with, like, we've seen it in Houston. Could you do that with these two bigs in Portland? Is that something you're willing to explore if you're them, Grant?
I mean, 100% yes if any of Hansen's shooting is real. Because then on offense, you're getting kind of more, you're getting what you need. I think it's worth a shot either way, just because it does feel like things are trending in that direction. And really a big component of this is like, I don't know that the bigs that used to, for like a 5 to 8 year stretch felt like they were dinosaurs. I don't know that those guys have gotten any more skilled. I think schematically teams have gotten better at figuring out ways to keep one and sometimes two of those guys on the floor, which using the kind of stuff you're talking about, where like maybe you stash one on the weakest shooter that hangs out in the corner and he's just kind of a backline help guy. The other guy is the one that has to handle pick and roll stuff just in a drop, and guys like team schemes are good enough now that you can get away with that. So yeah, I think I'm trying it. I'm not ready to jump on the starter train quite yet, but that'll just leave it so you're way out ahead of the curve on him.
You know what? That's disrespectful to Donovan Clingan, but maybe like every other game, can we do something like that? Like, can we make that the trend?
That seems like a
rotating starter.
Yeah, great.
Probably enough on him. Who are we going to next?
We'll go to the Phoenix Suns. Khaman Maluach, number 10 pick, acquired in the Kevin Durant trade, essentially.
With the Suns' own pick. I find that
Suns via Rockets via Suns. Fact I learned, higher standing reach than Victor Wembanyama. So obviously he was the best player in Summer League, right?
False. That's fake news, sir. I feel a little bit worse about him. And you know why I feel a little bit worse? He's 18. He very much looked 18. That is fine. I think some of the stuff, the defensive footwork and positioning, like he was sometimes just like kind of tilted. I'm moving away from the mic, like, so I'm doing my job poorly. He's kind of tilted, and he's also just like in no man's land at points. I don't like, there's some energy there, and like there were some moments, but putting him on a Suns team that as of right now just does not have like a floor general or like a really elite lob thrower is criminal. And I think you could say that about, Mark Williams is on this team too. And Devin Booker can do some of that stuff, but I don't think he should have to, is the problem. And so do you want Jalen Green or Grayson Allen doing that? Like, what are we kind of doing here? So I think CP3 would have been so great for them because I think he could have helped all of their bigs. Mark Williams, Nick Richards, Maluach. But I came away feeling a little bit worse with the caveat that he's just so young. I don't know why you would feel worse. And Phoenix seems to be very high on him, which they drafted him at 10, but like some of the things scouts said to Keith Smith of Spotrac, just they think he's going to be like a top tier big man. I didn't see that during Summer League. I guess the trajectory changes quite a bit if you buy into like the 3-point exploration. Like that could be big, but that's also just, those feel, I don't even want to say breaking case or emergency, but that's more of just like an add-on to what he's going to do best. You're not going to look at Khaman Maluach and be like, we need that dude to take as many threes as Victor Wembanyama, because if he is, I don't really know what that means.
Well, and that argument is always one that you make with a guy that's this young that can't do that, right? Like, it's like, well, if he could just shoot a three, it's like, I don't know, were we saying that about Clint Capella like 13 years ago? Like, you know what I mean? Like, anytime there's a guy that has like great measurables, pretty clearly like significant defensive potential, the good size, it's like, well, if he could just add a three, you know, like that, yeah, of course, you know, like that's so. I guess then this is not someone that's going to push Mark Williams or kind of like make the Suns not skip a beat in the likely event that Williams misses time.
Yeah, I would be pretty surprised if it happens in year one, where it's
Is
like
he
it
playing
almost
over Richards?
I mean, if the Suns are trying to win games, probably not.
I assume they are. I don't know.
Well, they have $19.4 million in dead money on the books. I think I don't know. So what would you make of it if you know like what the lowdown was on Maluach coming into Summer League, what he's supposed to be as a prospect? Now, I'm going to tell you, I came away feeling better about he opened Summer League like with a little glimpse into his floor game where like spins into a left-handed hook shot. I came away feeling better about him doing something like that than I did of him being like this consistent screener, roller, finisher.
Yeah.
And that's with me, the caveat of we throw efficiency out the window. But if I'm coming away from this and saying that, it's like, is that good? Because it's, the skills that he's supposed to be good at, he'll just develop. Or is it alarming? Is it nothing? Honestly, I don't think the situation helps him. Like, I really think they need to get like more of an offensive organizer game. Like Tyus Jones in the Tyus Jones role for this team would have mattered a great deal this season.
Okay. Well, so then in that case, to answer your question, I would have just rather him show that he was good at the like 2 or 3 things I hoped I was getting out of the draft. You know, like, can you catch a lob? Can you defend the rim? Can you rebound?
And he seems like when he kind of like really zeroes in, I think that, and Chandler SV says Suns will probably trade Nick Richards back to the Hornets. They love swapping centers. They should probably just trade Nick Richards because you don't have an incentive to be bad this year, but like you're invested in Maluach, and I assume the Devin Booker extension was just hush money until he eventually wants out. Like that's how I viewed that. So I wouldn't write him off by any stretch, and I can like kind of see what like they view in him, but I don't know how much of this was Summer League where it's okay, the playmaking and like the chemistry is already going to be spotty, but are we sure it's going to get a lot better when he goes into like what Phoenix is actually doing this year?
Well, so then he's clearly not a start. Is this a bench, or do you think he would benefit from being in the G League?
Man, I think he'd probably benefit from being in the, like if we're trying to like view it as where is he spending most of his time, because I don't, if the Suns are being serious that they're trying to win games, I don't know that, and which is, by the way, he's a teenager, so that's fine. So I'm just going to say G League, which I think a lot of people may think is egregious when you're talking about a top 10 pick. He did have, like, he faced Joan Beringer, like, in the Minnesota game, and he had some moments against him, but I came away from that game and overall from Summer League feeling better about Beringer. And Chandler SV says in the chat, Nick, Mark, and Maluach are super similar. Should, no joke, move off Nick and give Maluach some. Yeah, I think if my whole thing is just, Grant, like, the Suns don't, we know there's no incentive to be bad, but, like, you have no pathway to being good.
Right.
So why not give him, if I were the Suns, I would just probably start him. Like, I'm fine with the Mark Williams trade, and maybe you don't start him, but you know that Mark Williams probably shouldn't be playing a ton of minutes anyway, but he's my second big if I'm the Suns, just because I love Oso Ighodaro, but you have this top 10 pick invested in him. Just see what you have. But then do you think it does a disservice if Devin Booker or Jalen Green are your de facto point guards? And again, I think Devin Booker's an underrated passer. You know that I've said that a bunch. I just think that he's better with like an Oso Ighodaro type big than he is like, oh, you need to pass these guys open or hit these guys for lobs. I don't know if that's his strong suit.
No, I don't. I think it's asking too much of him, and he hasn't shown it, that he's like the guy that will just, Chris Paul is the good counterexample. Like, I'll just make this guy better because I will spoon feed him. He's getting 8 points a night just that he doesn't have to do anything for. All right, interesting. Let's go to the Oklahoma City Thunder here, continuing reverse alphabetically. Another exciting, like an asterisk rookie, because he missed all of last season, was drafted injured essentially. Nikola Topic. So before you just give the general impression, like what I'm most curious about is like, is he someone? Because look, hey, newsflash: the Thunder won the title, but they did not have great secondary creation all the time. Is he someone that you think can do that, and is he someone that you think will actually be good enough at that to pull minutes away from what's otherwise like one of the deepest, maybe the deepest team in the league?
The answer is just yes to all of the above.
Okay.
I would still have questions about the shooting for him, but you could see the passing, you could see the feel there. I think what's also interesting is how do you figure out how to get reps for someone like him on a team that already has some of these most established players? His movement away from the ball, like for someone who's coming off an ACL injury, that's like, we need to have the apologies. I'm sorry I wasn't familiar enough with your game meme up here, because I thought that was actually phenomenal. And that's like a way for him to kind of like the way that AJ Mitchell broke his way into the rotation to start last season was, yeah, it took injuries, but he was able to just plug and play. I came away from Topic just like, well, this dude is way more plug and play than I thought. But he like, I don't know what to make of the 3-ball. At the same time, like he drilled like a couple self-created bombs, and one of them was just against the Pacers, and I was, all right, now can we get him to actually take those types of shots?
Okay.
I don't know. He wasn't really looking at the basket either from the perimeters. I'll forgive any turnovers in Summer League, and I'm even more so gonna like forgive them because his usage was through the roof for a lot of those games. He probably needs to like. He is flash meets substance, but he does lean too much towards like not every pass needs to be like one-handed and all.
Now you have my attention.
Yeah. It's sort of like it's not he doesn't move the same way, but it's just like you saw Manu Ginobili like would try things a few too many times, and he like kind of has that like superfluous amount of flair that he plays with. But it's fun to watch. That I will say.
I mean, look, so that's very exciting to me. That's the most intriguing thing you said. That he's a little too flashy. I'm super on board.
The other thing too is when I mentioned his off-ball movement, like it kind of scaled to the defensive end too, and so it's like, oh, all right, of course the Thunder have just somebody that might be okay on defense that people weren't really talking about defense.
Yeah, is he someone that? Let's just imagine it's December and Shea and J-Dub are not on the floor and Topic has the ball. He's running the offense. Is he someone that you just in a high pick and roll, he's going to turn the corner, maybe get the defender on his back? Like, is that something that he can do and just like, oh my God, he's got everybody right where he wants them? Like, is he that level of sort of like floor mapper? Like, you know what I'm getting at? Like, is he someone that like just with a screen, he has compromised the defense and now has options off of that?
Yeah, I think that and also just like playing with, with all due respect to like Brandon Carlson, who I put him in the first round when I did a redraft, by the way, for anyone who cares. But like when you're looking at the bigs that he was playing with in Summer League, I just like to go from that to Chet and Hartenstein. I mean, and even big Jalen Williams. Like yes, I think he can. There's like a change. I compared him to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading into the draft last year. I'm like not ready to move off that entirely. There's like a change of gears. I don't think he's going to do that stuff right off rip. And Shai always had you don't trust his 3-point shot like intrinsically relative to other players, but you trust him like, okay, like he got like, I don't feel that way with Topic just yet. And I think that he kind of suffers more from a passivity as a scorer. So that's something that defenses will adjust to and maybe make him easier to guard. But he's someone that I think at the NBA level, maybe not right out of the gate, but like if you mentioned December, let's say February, post All-Star break, if you're trying to like conserve your guys, I think he's someone who could eat up a lot of on-ball usage and like not make it look like, oh, we're trying to develop too hard. Like, no, it might feel more organic as in, oh, this is actually helping us.
Okay. Start bench.
So you start
G
him.
League.
Yeah, you start him.
You start him over Shai.
It's bench because I want to see, but it's also like, oh, well then how are we like it might have to be G League. Well, not just so that look at the sheer depth of the roster.
With the Thunder specifically though, you can definitely pull minutes from Caruso during the regular season. Like maybe you play him twice a week or whatever, and he plays 15 minutes most nights because who cares? And you just want him healthy late in the year. And then it's like, is it Wiggins or is it Joe? I guess or Wallace even. You're probably not taking Wallace's minutes, but I think there will be minutes there, assuming the Thunder really take the view of like thank you, Eric. We agree.
In our unbiased opinion, Eric is one of the smartest human beings to ever grace this earth.
Okay, that's enough on Topic. Let's get to Brooks Barnhizer.
I have a few more things to add. So
how much do you have to say about Brooks Barnhizer, you sicko?
I actually do have things to say, but only because he was, first of all, anyone who's watching, can we take a minute to appreciate that this dude was definitely doing like bicep curls and push-ups before we see the veins.
Oh, for sure there's a pump going on there.
Right. First of all, good for him. I fave it. But what I want to say, well, maybe I'll start with the player before my actually overarching thought on like the Thunder really just did it again. Grant, it turns out Oklahoma City selected another gritty as hell perimeter defender with top shelf basketball IQ. Is that how surprising is that to you?
Knock me over with a feather.
So The on-ball pressure he could provide is insane. It, like, can cover the entire floor. Now it's, a rookie. I don't know how much he's going to play, but Cason Wallace and Alex Caruso are just also on this team, as is Lu Dort. This is stupid stuff now, Grant. He can get strips. He will force turnovers away from the ball, and he does this like it is his primary life source. His aggression can mutate into like over-eagerness, and there will be some fouls, but it wasn't like egregious in summer league is, you get the 10 fouls across a 40-minute game. And I didn't come away thinking that he would ever be someone who came in, logged 8 minutes and picked up 4 fouls or something. Again, the Thunder did it again there. Offensively, shocker, questions about the jump shot. I still have them. I think that he's probably like, if you can give him super wide open looks, if he could just like put a little bit more, I don't know if it's arc or just needs to put more oomph behind them, but a lot of his shots just felt to fall short. Your move, Chip Engelland. So we have him in Oklahoma City, by the way. So I assume he'll eventually shoot 40% from 3 on 5 attempts or more per 36 minutes. I thought that like the overall balance of his offensive portfolio though was very solid. He has a little bit of a handle. He tries to get like too cute with it when he's attacking the paint, but like he also, when he's really at his best, there's control in the half court to where, all right, no, I don't know that you want him running when you're looking for those secondary ball handlers. Do you want him running pick and rolls and initiating the offense? Maybe not, but I'm not ready to say no. Like, he has kind of like stop on a dime, throw up a floater, can use a little bit of more tricks like with the shoulders and body to try and get to the basket. Do you have anything on that before what I'm questioning about the Thunder, like macro with
I was going to ask you what positions you're comfortable with him guarding.
All of them.
Okay.
No,
just the ones on the floor.
Yeah, just the ones on the floor, and maybe some of the ones that are in the locker room at points. So this is probably, I'm going to say 1 through 3.
Yeah.
With like the ability to maybe he could scale up to 4.
Mm-hmm.
Does that
so
seem
more,
like
more
is that too
Wallace than Caruso in that sense? Because Caruso you can get away with on some 5s, but Wallace is like strong and good enough for 3s, but not quite a 1 through 4 guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's pretty strong. It's just like he could be technically. I could see him being a Lu Dort replacement eventually. If you thought that, so because he's 6'5", and what is Lu Dort? He's 6'4".
I think he's 6'5", 6'4".
I mean, there you go. Like now, but that's like what I'm kind of getting into is when people are worried about can the Thunder, can they keep their big 3 together? I'm not saying they're going to end up doing this, but you could move off of a Lu Dort in Alex Caruso, even if Cason Wallace ends up getting more expensive, and it's, well, we have A.J. Mitchell on a cheap contract, or we have Brooks Barnhizer, who has shown all this stuff defensively. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as any of these guys. In all likelihood, it's the Thunder, so maybe you assign more value to it happening. But in all likelihood, no, he's not going to be those guys. They've just peppered themselves with all, like, some of these guys get too expensive. It's, well, Nikola Topic still might just be pretty cheap.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another ball handler right there. And if he's not going to hurt you defensively, he's not, like, he can't replace Caruso and he can't replace Lu Dort, so that gets a little trickier. But, like, could he, if you have some of these guys on a rookie scale, like, let's say Barnhizer or A.J. Mitchell, super cheap, do you feel okay, like, having 2 of them versus having to pay Caruso or Lu Dort on his next deal? Not decisions the Thunder need to make right now, but I think people are underselling where it's 2027. That's going to be the year they have to make some tough decisions. Maybe, but also maybe not.
Well, and look, like, there'll be a third wave too because of all the picks. So right around the time Barnhizer and Topic get expensive, there's going to be like the 2029 and 2030 first they've got coming in from God knows who. So yeah, like I think that's a real thing. I mean, you just, against that, you have to weigh just the chronic uncertainty of like how long windows are open and like what's going to happen with their 3 best play, like all that stuff. But like, yeah, the Thunder are set up better to sort of keep this thing running than any team I can remember. Like that's a fact because of the guys that are in there now on rookie scale deals and the guys that are like sophomores in college or in high school right now that they're going to repopulate the roster with soon enough.
Is it surprising to you that they weren't the first team to acquire some type of 2032 draft pick?
A little bit. I mean, there's still time.
Well, I mean, Brooklyn got it. I would assume that OKC on draft night would have been like the first team.
Oh, I see. Yeah, they weren't the first one to get a 2032.
Right.
All right. So this is still, though, just because of the positional glut, Barnhizer's a G leaguer, right? Like, just sort of has to be.
Yeah, I think that he's not going to fill like there's a chance that Topic could fill a need right
Yeah.
away. He's just I mean we named all of them already. It's just not going to Jalen Williams, we didn't even mention it, like Wing J-Dub. We didn't
Yeah.
even mention him yet. So there's just but yeah, so I would say G League, but this is someone who this isn't going to I don't think this is going to be a Dylan Jones situation where they're looking to get rid of him after a year.
Gotcha. All right, Dan, it's time to talk about the New Orleans Pelicans. Let's start with the guy they picked highest, Jeremiah Fears. I mean, this was a player that came in like even people that liked him were like there are some real potential problems here with the size and with the turnover propensity and with the shooting. Did you leave the Jeremiah Fears experience feeling like the concerns were greater or less than they were like around the draft?
So they're less than for me, I think, because his strengths translated really, really well. Where it's, and maybe you won't see as much of this in New Orleans. I don't know how to feel about New Orleans' spacing this year, just because they do have Trey Murphy, Sadiq Bey's healthy. They got Jordan Poole, who shot really well last year. But Jeremiah Fears is just like he will get downhill and figure out how to get to the basket, even if there's no spacing around him. And so I think like that's really important. I came away probably feeling a little bit better about his passing overall. A lot of it, though, does feel like, okay, this is going to have to come out of drives. I don't know if you want him to have to slow down and run the offense that way. I also think that when you're looking at him getting downhill, the finishing, it didn't pop all the time. And I think some of that has to do with his takeoff points. And then he's someone who definitely gets like tunnel vision, and those can be self-saboteurs for him. I don't know what to ding him for with the 3-point shooting though, because we knew that was a concern for him, and so like it was if it's still a concern, but it's not to me. It's not any greater of a concern. It's just in the context of the New Orleans Pelicans, is that what they need from the guard spot? I don't feel, and I felt this way. I think coming into Summer League, I feel better about Derik Queen. Like I would still rate him, and we're going to talk about him in a second. I do think, though, what popped with me for the passing is like when he really was surveying the floor and had his head up on his drives, or at least like not just looking straight ahead, he would have had so many more assists. And you could say this about a lot of guys, but he would have had a lot more assists if like the summer Pelicans hit more shots like off of his passes. So that is someone who's like, you want to put the defense into rotation or get other guys open. That's a big deal because like Zion Williamson, I'm going out on a limb here. He might miss some time, Grant. Is like to have somebody that could do that.
Why would you say that?
I know. I'm sorry. To have someone that could do that, I think is absolutely huge. So I feel better about Fears following his Vegas stint. It's not that to me, he didn't disprove any of his weaknesses, but I think that he proved that nucleus of his game, the driving, again, the finishing, even though it wasn't pristine. And then of course the foul drawing, I think that translates right away.
I asked Was this because I'm trying to get a sense of how to think about Fears. Did he remind you of anybody? Like, is there, in basically, I'm looking for small guard comps that like he flashed glimpses of.
Small guard comps, man. So
did he? Well, maybe the question is, did he?
Okay.
As you're watching him, were you like, this guy's undersized? Was that part of your like?
No,
does that
it
jump
wasn't.
out
It was
to
like
you?
he could stand to get a little bit stronger. It was so. How tall was John Wall?
I think he was listed at 6'4", but so probably he was 6'2" or 6'3".
So, like, I think he's probably not as physical. I mean, but Jeremiah Fears is listed at 6'3", and I guess you quibble over, do you think that he can be a point guard? And I think that prime John Wall developed some patience. Because he doesn't pop necessarily athletically like a John Wall or a Russell Westbrook or a Derrick Rose.
Yeah. I mean,
but
those guys
feel
are
like
three of the best athletically.
Right, but that's like who I'm gravitating to, and he doesn't play with the elegance of like what John Morant did. So I don't know what the comp is for him. If anyone in the chat has a good comp for Jeremiah, do you know what his pro comp was? Like, what was the most popular Jeremiah Fears?
Oh God, I mean, I'm sure Darius Garland got mentioned just because that's the most recent successful smallish guard. I mean, Fears has to play point guard, right? Like he can't. If he's a 2, then he's just like so much less valuable. Like, did you have I mean, I don't want to like misconstrue what you're saying, but like you don't view him as someone that would play the 2. Like he has to be a 1, doesn't he?
I think that he could have I would put him on the ball because I think that's where he's going to be strongest right now. And just, I do wonder though, because the level of difficulty on some of his shots, and again, they're not going in right now. It does make me hopeful that, okay, well, maybe there is someone who can hit like some of these set wide, like, because when you look at some of the guys on the Pelicans. And I think Derik Queen, when he's healthy, and then Zion Williamson, of course, they're going to get their own dribble penetration. Like, Jeremiah Fears has the tools to be like, can he do like just cut in, whether it's from the corner or like from 45 degrees in. I think he can do some of that stuff, but I'm developing him as an on-ball point guard, I think. I do, though, with all that. And now he has the bigs do I think work better for him, maybe where his playmaking will pop even more. The question is there enough spacing around him? And you could say, like, does that spacing come in the form of players who make sense around him? And as I was just about to mention, as Chandler SV says in the chat, like playing Fears and Poole together defensively, I just really don't know how that's going to work out.
Right. All right. So it sounds like he's not a start. Is he a bench or a G League guy?
I would bet he could come off the bench for sure. And I mean, like, you have like this high equity invested in him.
The seventh
so
pick, you have to with the pick that high. Okay.
Well, I think you could question, do the Pelicans have more invested right now in Jeremiah Fears or this guy, Mr. Derik Queen?
Well, did they give up an unprotected first for Jeremiah Fears? No?
They used the 7th overall pick on him instead of number, what was he, 13, 12, 13?
Yeah, I mean, it's so Derik Queen got hurt. He's going to miss, what is it, like a 12 weeks with a wrist surgery.
That's before,
reevaluated.
that's just, sorry, you were going to say.
No, he's reevaluated, so then who knows, like, how much longer that's going to go. Throw that out. Just talk as you know, from what he actually did on the court prior to a huge bummer of an injury. Just like, regardless of how you feel about the Pelicans' machinations to get him, that sucks for him and for them. What did he show you? I guess the $1 million question is, like, did he show enough to justify the 10 spot move up and the unprotected pick being traded to get him? Like, I don't know how he possibly could have, but you have to view it through that lens, I think, just because that's a thing that happened.
Right. And it doesn't color my evaluation of him. I think I tried to untether it from what they gave the opportunity cost of getting him, but I understand why the Pelicans coveted him so much. But with that being said, as I mentioned at the top of the Fears thing, I would have just taken Derik Queen at number, because I look at Fears, I think he can end up being a good NBA player, but I don't look at, like, that wasn't a can't miss prospect to me, but I also try to recognize that those prototypes of players, like and I'm not comparing him to necessarily any of them, but like even an RJ Barrett, who's probably a more dynamic and bigger form of that type of player, but like the Cam Thomases, the Jalen Greens, like those players just really aren't my cup of tea. So I'm trying to, like, my bias creeping in there. I think Jeremiah Fears can be an impactful NBA player. If I'm the Pelicans and my intention was to be good this season, I wouldn't have viewed incorporating 2 lottery picks as a priority, number one. Right. And then 2, like, Derik Queen is just going to be a better NBA player to me. And there was, sloppiness permeated everything he did. I think that the turnovers would get better if he had more chemistry, but also just, like, the passes come a beat too late. He has, when you look at how big he is, yes, the handle is good, but it's also, like, too far out in front of him, and he will just dribble, like, right through traffic, or try to, and it's not going to go well. Spoiler alert. But man, Grant, like, he just has feel. I know I hate throwing out that word because
I love talking about feel. So that, because it's like I know it when you see it. So talk to me about, like, a play or two that gave you that sense of, like, oh, he's got it. He's got that intangible feel thing. Like, what kinds of things was he doing that made that apparent to you?
So there was the game, I think it was against I want to say it was the Timberwolves game. And so just like the way that he's able to work from the outside in while using his live dribble, again, if he's going to get some space there, and he's going to throw passes from all over the floor. And, like, the assists don't really show that again in Summer League. I think he finished with 7 assists through 3 games, which doesn't feel like a lot, but you can, like, see him just kind of scanning the floor, mapping the floor. And I think what's also encouraging that it's like the jumper, is he ever going to be like someone who could, like, score from the perimeter? I don't know, but he has some, like, push shot touch and, like, feathery touch around the basket. But what I think is a big deal is, like, he can move without the ball. And so if there was ever a pathway to, like, him working with Zion Williamson, it feels like that's it. Because Zion is just, if he's going to work without the ball, whether it's going to be like a cut in or can he screen and roll, like, I think Derik Queen can just do a lot more different things away from the ball when it comes with more of that limited range, again, that you get from Zion Williamson as well. So between that and just, like, knowing how to carve out the opportunities for themselves, and I think you look at his best scoring performance came in what was his final outing against the Trailblazers. He had 17 points, again, only on 5 of 11 shooting. The thing that really stuck out to me is just that he will move at kind of his own cadence, and like he will wait out the defense to get to like what he's going to need to maybe get to his spots, or he's going to be able to score with kind of like different sleights of hand. And then also, if you're looking for, as I'm just like, vomiting all my notes out here, if you're looking for hope that, like maybe he has some expanded range, 7 of 8 from the foul line in that game, and as someone that has the body to draw fouls, there might be, does he play explosive enough? This is the thing we did not know yet. He is very much as ground bound as advertised. It doesn't seem like it's going to prevent him from being a double-double machine, though, which I think is going to be valuable on the glass. And just like specifically as someone, if he's going to be off the ball or just looking, maybe it's going to come off his own misses, like that dude is going to figure out ways to make an impact on the offensive glass as well, like so long as the Pelicans are going to let him. And so I came away there's a lot of rawness here for sure, but like I came away thinking, all right, I get why the Pelicans wanted him so badly, but it made me even more curious as to why he just wasn't their pick at number 7.
Got it. Okay, so he's a bench too, because you're not sending him down, obviously, and the starting lineup is.
Well, I mean, the way Yves Missi played in summer league, I mean, maybe you just start. But Yves Missi's good, and he has the NBA reps. And also, this is a question for you: what does it do? So, like, 12-week reevaluation period. That's October, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you? So, you're not going to be ready for training camp. Is it how do you integrate this guy? Then he's not going to get reps really, like with those training camp reps with the team.
I mean, maybe he does get a few weeks in the G League for that reason. Not to say that that's where he's going to be stuck, but like maybe that's the move. Where if he's like a feel player and he might need that ramp up time. Given the investment, I would want him in the rotation ASAP. Just because I want to know what I have here in competition that counts. But yeah, maybe the G League is where you start him. You're on the ball all the time. Let's kind of let you get all the way back, and then your role shrinks probably when you make it up.
I do think, and maybe it wouldn't be right away, but I think if they put him in the G League, that he's just going to make it kind of a farce. That would be my guess. I think that'd
be a great outcome if that's what happens if he's in the G League. All right, let's jump to Minnesota. We have Joan Beringer. Tell me all about this Frenchman. I'm gonna guess.
I'm honestly surprised that they haven't traded Rudy Gobert already, because they just have.
Because you only get one. Is that what you're? There's a quota on French centers.
There's not a quota on French centers, but there's a quota on like how many minutes are available in a game, and so you can't play Beringer 48 minutes if
His
Rudy
deserved
Gobert is also
48.
playing. Yeah,
Got it.
So,
okay.
Man, this is for someone who's just like clearly a project. He was like kind of a lot more polished than I thought. Like he might already have better hands than Rudy Gobert, and I know sounds
you and I have better hands than Rudy Gobert. Sorry.
I definitely do not. I think it was his first game. Some people are saying it was 7. Others are saying it was 6. Some are saying it was 2 trillion. He just had like that many blocks. Insane. I think that the defensive activity, he's going to hold up on the perimeter. The shot blocking instincts are there. You probably, if he's going to rumble with like some of the burlier bigs, you want him to get stronger. But I think Rudy Gobert is a really good case study in like, this is someone who could get strong without having to be like too bulky. So that bodes well for him. He did foul a lot at some points. It's summer league festivities. You get 10 fouls. Why not use them is kind of how I feel. I will say, because he has their traditional big man skill set. So his offensive impact can get like really muted for large swaths of time. But man, he can dunk everything if you want him to. And then he'll dunk some more after that. I thought he did a good job, even when he wasn't the primary screener, of positioning himself in the floor to either where you could score from the dunker spot or you're going to help out on the offensive glass. I mentioned the hands thing, and I know he doesn't have range, and I don't remember the game. I think it was maybe his first game where he had all those blocks against the Pelicans. He just busted out a push shot. And so it's just that's not Rudy. You don't trust Rudy Gobert to take push shots. So I'm not saying that he's going to replace Rudy Gobert, but this is someone. Now that you kind of look at the big man situation there, I know Julius Randle, Naz Reid, and Gobert, but he might be able to soak up some minutes. That would be my prediction. Is I think Joan Beringer is going to log more regular season minutes with the actual Minnesota Timberwolves than you would expect.
Okay, well then he's clearly a bench then, right? Like I was thinking G League for sure, but I mean even
Well, you probably should you throw him, like, if we're being honest though, like, should you throw him in the G League to like get those reps?
I mean, yeah, but like if the Wolves aren't and have never really been that high on playing McDaniels at the 4, I mean maybe there's room up there. Like I mean, yeah. The other thing is, I guess Reed does enable some things. Like you could play him with Reed certainly if you can play Gobert with Reed. So like there maybe it's not as congested as it might seem, but given his youth, and look, like the Wolves, if everybody's healthy, can keep a very good center on one end of the floor or the other on the court for 48 minutes without Beringer. So I would want to develop him down in the G League, but I don't know. You've got me excited about his potential. So you're very high on the rookies so far. I think that's a great thing. I think it's good to be positive.
I mean, I'm trying to focus on some of the weaknesses, but it's just like I don't want to trash. These are teenagers, like, and they're being choppered into these games like immediately after having their lives become a whirlwind with not playing with people they're necessarily familiar with. Mm-hmm. I will say, kind of similar but less so to Maluach with the Suns. When you look at the playmakers that are on Minnesota's team, like the primary ones, it's Anthony Edwards, it's Julius Randle, is whatever's left of Mike Conley. And if Mike Conley was caps lock Mike Conley, perfect situation for him. But as we kind of saw last year, he's not. And so I'm wondering, in the same ways that we could see Gobert become an offensive liability, I don't think Beringer is going to have that same issue again when it comes to the hands, and he might be able to make defenses guess a little bit more in the middle of the floor. But I just don't know that there's going to be a lot, because I don't think Julius Randle is it. There's going to be a lot, like, on Anthony Edwards' shoulders if Beringer is going to work out in the near term. Or Rob Dillingham, of course. But I don't even know if Rob Dillingham is necessarily that type of playmaker yet.
Well, I mean, the Wolves will certainly like to have him become that. Okay, great. So he's a probably bench, but possibly borderline G League.
He should be G League, I think we could all say. We're going to get to some guys I promise that we won't be spending as much time on because, although I'm upset, I wanted to see more of Cedric Coward. And we obviously couldn't because of the injury. So
a very important player based on the Grizzlies. Like the Derik Queen move, like kind of is the one everyone talks about. But the Grizzlies also moved up for him. We're not going to talk about him. Tell me about Javon Small.
Can I talk about Jalen Wells instead? No, I'm just
really good. Yeah. Well, you already did actually. So can we talk about Jalen Wells twice in the same podcast?
Yeah, so he played on July 5th against the Oklahoma City Thunder and then didn't take the floor again until July 17th versus the Atlanta Hawks. I will say, Grant, I thought he was worth the wait. Surprise, surprise. I'm pretty high. But he dropped 17 points in that game against Atlanta to go along with 5 assists and 5 rebounds. It just incorporated a little bit of everything. Like he had the scoring, had some pull-ups, had some step backs, the ability to get to his floater, dimes in the pocket and on kickouts. He had a really nice and decisive baseline drive. There was even some off-ball movement from him. He's 6'1", so that, like, his utility can devolve pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Memphis is built to insulate him, especially if you're going to lean on Cedric Coward and everything. And you have Jalen. Like, do they have the defense to insulate him? It's just is what I would want to know. And now, like, Desmond Bane's not there, so you have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I forgot about him for a minute. But, like, it seems like they might be able to just find these guys that can do a bunch of little different things, but who are also not as big as you would like them to. Like, Scottie Pippen Jr. would be another example where I know we don't have as big of a problem with, but it's just, so I think that could be an NBA player. I don't know, like, he's a G League guy to me, if like at all for the Grizzlies, but like I would call it, like, he has the works about him, or maybe there's not like this elite marketable skill, but he can do a bunch of different things. I just don't know, like, do you view someone who, like, could be 6'1" and do some things off the ball on offense? Like, and he's not going to have, like, the super just, like, detonative speed either, but he's solid, but he's not Scottie Pippen Jr. on defense. I will say is he going to be better than John Morant on defense? Let's not get into that conversation.
Let's instead get into Juhmai Mashack.
He was also, Grant, you know what? I have some things to say about him. He was all right. The kids are all right. Oh, Grant, look, I think our first does this button work. Our first super chat.
I don't know if it does. Hey, there we go.
It might. I think YouTube takes like 70% of it, so shout out YouTube or something like that. Thank you, in actual Cloud. That was very kind of you, and you're always tuning into the live streams. We really appreciate it. Who am I talking about right now?
I'm talking about the one and only Juhmai Mashack.
Yeah, so I think he's a starter in this league right off the bat. I actually didn't think that he was going to get his own blurb, but it feels wrong to ignore someone who plays at the cross section of the flash and substance. This is another guy who's going to come in. Like, the jumper came and went. That happens in G League. I think logging so much time on ball up to the errancy factor when you look at how his turnovers came. He still looked at home pacing the offense in transition and coming around screens when he would get those ball screens. More of a secondary creator type thing. I will say, though, the fact that he could do that and then defend his ass off, Grant, man, like, he can guard some wings. And so both the ball pressure and then just the help that he would provide in driving lanes, including forcing some turnovers. He contested jumpers. He contested layups. I would describe the way that he plays on defense when he doesn't have to zero in on one thing. It's with like a controlled abandon. And this is someone whose block rate, I would guess, is going to belie his size. He's listed at 6'3". Looking at the Grizzlies, he's probably a G Leaguer, but at the same time, he's someone who I think has like the qualities of a real bench player.
I mean, the Grizzlies kind of do this, right? Like, you know, the Vince Williamses and the Gigi Jacksons and the Pippins, and like they kind of do pick these guys out pretty effectively. So I think if all things being equal, you probably should assume that Mashack has a little more than most might think.
I have a question though, and I guess it comes with the caveat of, John Morant's probably going to miss some time. Do they have like any guard minutes to go around? Like if they wanted to experiment?
I mean, you're going to force me to remember who they signed because they definitely did. Oh, they got Ty Jerome. That's what
they have Ty Jerome. They have KCP, and so it's just like I don't like these feel like G League guys, and that I mean that's fine, but
yeah, I think these guys are both clearly G League with maybe some opportunity to play if and when Morant gets hurt, and the Grizzlies are like, we're giving Ty Jerome 40 minutes a night now, like that's you're going to want some backups there for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not the best situation, but again, because this is the Grizzlies, and for all their flaws, like they do kind of find guys like this that have a little more than you think.
Yeah, and so maybe it's also like as some guy. I mean, wasn't Scottie Pippen Jr. on the books for like ever? There's like some of these guys might get more expensive, but he's someone. Look, I'm just very loosely like if you were looking for could there be like a KCP replacement if they ever used his salary to get like another type of wing or something like that, like maybe you could see him turning into at his absolute peak that type of player with I don't know if he could he defend up as well, but I would say probably and like maybe with a little bit more juice as a creator on offense, but not the same level of shooting that KCP provides.
Okay, all right, let's move to the Lakers. And I'm just going to assume that Luka recruited this guy too, because that's the narrative right now, that he goes and just gets people. Arthur Kaluma. Tell me about him.
He was fine. Like, this is like the one where you look at him and he laid the blueprint, I think, for sticking at this level in that win over the Pelicans. That was, I don't remember what day that was. But he hit 2 threes from the corners, and like that would be the swing skill. Him doing that and running the floor. He even threw down like a pretty powerful drunk in transition. During that game, though, Grant, he also, as my foot slip on my little stool right here, he racked up 8 fouls, which you don't get 8 fouls.
That's too many.
That's too many. So there's just like I feel like he should have more defensive range than he should, or because if you're going to test his defensive range, there's going to be those types of instances. I will say the fouling was not a reoccurring issue, so there is that, and I think it's easy to appreciate the times in which he was getting beat and then trying to be hyper aggressive. Like, and that's what was happening. So like, I like that energy. I don't know. He's kind of for someone who scales is like, all right, it's going to be maybe this wing type player or a forward. You don't want him to get caught off footed, I think, as much as he did. He was also just kind of stumbling into people when he was going for rebounds. I don't know what the expectations are for here, but like it would be G League for sure. This isn't like, the Lakers found a diamond in the rough type deal.
Sounds like a G Leaguer to me. Okay, well, let's look at the other LA team. This is the Clippers, and this is Yanic, Konan, Niederhauser, and I am right now officially filing a motion that he needs to become YKN because I think there's like 1 or 2 fewer letters than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's name, and it's close enough that if he can be SGA, I think a guy with this many consonants and vowels can just be YKN. I'm going to see if it sticks.
YKN. That sounds like some type of like Y2K type deal.
Yeah.
Like the end.
Can we work in? Maybe we can play off Y2K a little bit somehow. It's just to keep the references really timely. That's important. So we can do that. Tell me about him. Have the Clippers further deepened what is already one of the deepest front court rotations in the league?
They might have, but it's not going to be anytime soon. Like,
Gotcha.
start bench G League. This is G League for them. There was just so he had in the July 14th win over the Lakers. He had 10 points on 5 of 9 shooting that like saw him. He kind of had he can dunk when he really wants to. And he caught one in which it was just like unexpected pass in transition, and he was able to use 2 dribbles to clear half the floor, like go the length of half the floor and just dunk it. I think that was the roadmap. Like that game, like the snapshot of it was how he can make an impact on offense. And like you could test out his 3-point touch, but I don't know that we need to just yet. He can run the floor like hell, and good things is going to happen when he does that. But his aggression really waxed and waned, as did his physicality, as did his connection on screens. He's not the cleanest pass catcher either, which I think is to be expected on this. But like Niederhauser's already pretty disruptive on defense, and there's like a very alluring element to it. He had some really nice like contests on like when they were inbounding the ball. It's hard to make entry passes against him. Like if he's the guy, like you're trying to get into the post and he's there, or if he's guarding the guy who's trying to make the entry pass. So he's really active there. I don't know though that like the shot blocking, like it's certainly there in this summer league debut, but that was also another thing that waxed and waned. The rebounding is going to need to be better than it was in Vegas specifically. And it was just, he was too nonchalant about trying to gather position in too many of those instances, or didn't feel like he was trying to go up with urgency because is he so used to just like being bigger and better, like of all these people. Heinz says in the chat, elderly people and YKN. So what I'm interested is just like, so you mentioned their big man depth here. He kind of like, you have John Collins, someone who could space the floor and be used as like this athletic guy, play above the rim. You have Ivica Zubac, who is like the cross section of brutality and finesse at the same time. And then you have Brook Lopez, who's just like, doesn't have the best physical tools, but knows how to make it work on defense, stretched his range out to the 3-point line, but there was some dynamism like below the arc. He can kind of like to be learning or practicing against all of those guys at once or have them there, I think could be really beneficial to him, because I don't know what his long-term bag, so to speak, on offense will be, but you have the full gamut of like, you need to learn screen setting. Like John Collins and Ivica Zubac right there. You're looking to stretch your range. Brook Lopez and John Collins are right there. Like you're looking to someone who's going to be more aggressive on the glass. Like, Ivica Zubac is right there. And also just someone with this size, because Ivica Zubac, one of the things that he probably still doesn't receive enough credit for, and I know he got some like defensive player of the year love like this past year, like the way he moves his feet, just like not in a way that John Collins or Brook Lopez is ever going to do. I think it's cool that now I'm going to call him YKN now. You did it. You know Niederhauser. That's what it stands for. But YKN, like he's in a good situation of just like all these different archetypal bigs that maybe he can pull stuff from.
I mean, if it isn't that, at least he's getting exposed to all those different play styles that he has to guard, right? Like he's going to see almost everything that he could imagine in practice. Yeah, in practice. So like maybe the move is you have him up as much as you can, just because practice might be valuable, or just I think it's a bad situation because there's a million really good players in front of him. It's a good situation because it's a learning environment, and at this stage of his career, it seems to me like you're saying he's very much in the like learning phase still.
Yeah, I mean, I was more intrigued by him than I thought. I would be floored if he plays like any sort of role in the NBA for his first 2 years, though.
Gotcha. Let's move to Houston. The Rockets have one player here we're going to discuss. The best name of anyone we're going to talk about. I mean, unless Young Handsome becomes his official name, like if he changes it legally, Young Handsome would be the best. But Adonis Arms, just tremendous name. If you knew nothing about Adonis Arms, you would assume he was a really rugged, positionless defender. Tell me how close that is.
So here's the thing, is if I had to grade his summer league performance, he gets an F because someone with his name should have bigger biceps, no?
Yeah. I mean, because they're like Adonis's arms. It's just like, what is he doing?
But the defense, I mean, it's basically everything you said. And so he has the potential to guard up, and then he will get into passing lanes. He is blanketing in one-on-one situations. He's also like bumping him off course. Like if you are bigger than him or you have the size or the physicality advantage, like you can't use your shoulder to get off that guy. Screening him is going to be extra difficult. there might be some times where he'll get caught up in zeroing in on one thing too often, but I think I'd live with that trade-off given his just like the effect. Like he can defensive play make while also just if that's not what he's tasked with doing, if you need him to shut down someone away from the ball, he could do that too. I don't really know what he's going to be on offense though. Like the jumper cannot be trusted. He runs into trouble when he's trying to change directions or when his drives get cut off, it's liable to be a disaster. Like I don't know that he has the decision-making capability yet. His time with the Summer Rockets, like there was some like nice finishing, but it was mostly off like the straight line attacks. And like some settle down approach in transition, but I don't like he needs to be more of a passer, like when he's going to get downhill for I think him to kind of stick at the next level. And that's assuming like that the jumper gets a little bit better. So I would still classify him as G League, but it's just the types of guys that can come in and you're looking at them and it's, oh, they could really, you use the word rugged is like a really good way to describe what he can do on defense and has like I see, and he's 27 too, by the way. So this is not someone who has like a ton of upside. He's a rookie,
right.
And I think he was eligible to be drafted in 2021 or some shit. I don't even remember the year. But just like I appreciate like the wing size guys who could defend all over the place, and that would fit the Rockets' motif of like, hey, we like those dudes.
I was gonna say they have a type. That's definitely he's the right kind of guy. Okay, so G League for him.
We have a bonus thing.
Oh,
though,
good.
Here.
Tell me about Cocaine Curry. Like what's
So he's an honorary rookie because I don't think that he played enough last year.
We're talking about Reed Sheppard if you're not watching.
Yeah, for anyone if you're new and listening to this, I kind of have a thing for Reed Sheppard. I think a lot of people do, and he proved it during his brief summer league stint. That's all I'm going to say. Baby Goat is going to win Most Improved Player, might even win MVP at this rate. I saw people call him the tax man. I don't really like that. Do you like the tax? I like Cocaine Curry better.
Because he looks like an accountant? Is that what we're trying to say?
Yeah, that's what I would assume. I didn't actually dig into why. I just don't. It's not catchy to me.
No,
TTM. Maybe we could abbreviate it to that.
We don't need to abbreviate everything.
I think start bench or G League for him, Grant. Look, the
Rockets. The Rockets have done all three, I guess. Technically.
Right. He impressed me though. I think he's made some strides, like in terms of getting stronger and like having, like being able to survive on defense to the point where Ime Udoka is going to, like, that's not going to be the excuse not to play him at this point. The efficiency was all over the place, but he could still get to his spots. And I think defenses are still going to react when he gets going downhill. And if he's moving off the ball and just, if he gets to play away from Alper and Şengün at points, like I think that's a connection that could really develop. And the way the floor would open up, like I really want to see the Durant, Şengün, Reed Sheppard lineups, and maybe even like I would play him with Fred VanVleet too, because I think that puts him in like kind of the best offensive environment possible, especially if you're looking for him to improve his live dribble playmaking and make his impact that way. But yeah, I just want to throw him in there because I feel a little vindicated.
I mean, look, I would count myself as among Sheppard's biggest fans, except I talked to you and you have me beat. So, but you might be number one outside of the Houston area. I'm with you though. I'm excited about him. Not excited about the next team.
He's not a rookie. How many of those comments do you think we're gonna get?
I don't care. Do we have to? Let's talk about Alex Toohey first. Golden State Warriors 50-somethingth pick in this draft.
I would like to first shout out the Golden State Warriors for actually having a summer league team, because I didn't think they were doing anything this summer, which included just like not signing guys, not trading for them, not even participating in summer league. Look, you nailed the number 52 pick last year with Quinton Post. You didn't do it. I don't think you did it with Alex Toohey. He's billed as sort of this, and when you look and watch, it's okay. I could see the do-it-all skill set that everyone says that he has. And look, he finished a couple shots around the hoop, and he proved a little bit pesky on defense. Like the shots are going to have to go in at a higher clip eventually, and they never did for him really in summer league. He also seemed just like a few beats slow in his worst defensive moments. Tracking the ball is just not like he's going to get beat backdoor if that's going to happen, and that's a recipe to not play with Golden State, I would argue. I think he just needs to adjust to the speed and physicality of the game. He actually did talk about that, I think, in one of his interviews. It's G League for sure. If it's anything, I don't know if he's an NBA player. I get the intrigue and the theory of him, but I don't know if he's an NBA player.
I don't know if I get the theory of him, because I just like, we're all dealing with limited information, but I don't know if you noticed this, but so many of his like draft hype highlights, they're highlights, where it's like he would jump a passing lane and get on a breakaway and just barely beat the trailing defender to the bucket. It was just like, this guy's at an athletic disadvantage against non-NBA players, and it just felt like that's just such a difficult starting point to go from, where you clearly are kind of like compromised just on a fundamental level based on how effectively you can move compared to, like, yeah, it's compared to the best athletes in the world, but like good anticipation and decent size will take you so far. But you watched more than I did, so correct me, but I just never thought watching him even against inferior competition was like, oh, this is a guy that athletically belongs, in the NBA.
I don't mean to bring it back to Quinton Post, or maybe I do. That's our brand.
I wish you would.
I think you get the sense of like, oh, Quinton Post has a pathway to improving and having a like carved out defensive role where it's even just as maybe a base rim protector. I don't know there's some utility there because there's malleability, but it's just so often just like, oh, it's going to end badly though. And if it ended badly so much against summer league competition, what is that going to do against G League competition or even against the NBA competition once he gets there? But again, he said, because there were moments where he moved a lot faster. I don't know if the physicality is ever gonna be there. I didn't see too much of that. But if he has the ability to like turn the dial up a couple notches when looking at the speed, maybe. But yeah, and what are you expecting in general with it? Like, it's a flyer, so I don't think it's like
a 50-second pick.
Right, he's not some disaster. We're not going to talk about him on this podcast, but my answer would be, and maybe he shouldn't. Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, Hein wants to know who's this year's Cody Williams. I would posit Cody Williams.
Cody Williams, he might win Most Improved Player too. We're going to have Most Improved Player winners, but I actually think, you could correct me if you think this is just he wasn't drafted high enough. I think it's going to end up being like Kasparis Jokic.
Oh, I can't wait to talk to you about him. We're going to get to him later this week. He's a fascinating player to me. There was a Goran Dragic comp thrown out early, and I've never been able to shake it.
I could squint hard enough and see it eventually being there. Just a quick overview, but I don't know it's going to come. To be fair, like his first like summer league games before getting to Vegas were pretty bad, and he settled down after that. But like the turnovers, despite there were some Heat fans that were mad at me saying, "Well, if you watched like." Biggs couldn't catch passes. I was very much aware of that, and I still thought that he's just like, it's not even audacious decision making, it's just actively ignorant decision making is what it kind of feels like.
Let's talk about Will Richard, I guess, because we have to. You like him even less than Alex Toohey is my takeaway.
No, I like him better than Alex Toohey because I think he can defend at the NBA level. I just don't know what else he could do on offense. It's, can he hit a set three-pointer? We didn't see a lot of that in Summer League. There was, I think, a game against the Blazers where it looked better, but is that going to be like, for someone who's listed at 6'4", I will say, like, if you told me he was guarding someone who was 6'7" or 6'8", that wouldn't shock me. So that would be like the highest form of praise I could give him. But I didn't come away thinking that there was a clear pathway to him sticking on the offensive end. Where with Toohey, it almost feels like you flip it. He has a lot of tools, because you don't need to necessarily operate. I mean, look at Kyle Anderson or like Joe Ingles. Like, you don't need to operate at blazing speeds to be an effective offensive player. But Will Richard is just, I don't know what his offensive signature is going to be if he was to stick in the NBA. But we like guys who I think there are people who have a soft spot for, they have limitations on offense, but like they can just guard up, like even though they're not huge. But also that works against him too, because you're going to run into matchups on the wing where it's, no, you can't do that. Like you can't throw Will Richard on an actual wing.
Got it. Okay, so him and Toohey both are G League, like, at best, probably at this point, right?
Yeah, and I think, just because you are the Warriors guy, did you have, even just knowing the background of them, would you have thought it would have been like, oh, I'm going to come away feeling better about Toohey than Richard?
No, not necessarily. I kind of viewed both of these picks as like, these are, like I said, these are G League stashes, top end, like good outcome. They'd never seemed like, I think the Warriors are, cost conscious, and they're also like, they haven't even re-signed Gary Payton. So like, if he's not coming back, like, I mean, that's the guy that would just play over Richard in that type of role anyway. So yeah, I didn't expect a whole lot there. Let's get to the Denver Nuggets, and a player I'm very interested to hear your take on, because we basically lost his entire rookie season, DaRon Holmes, which like might play. Valanciunas is going to be there, so it changes a little bit, but like was at least last year too, like in line for what could have been a big role on a good Nuggets team. Do you think, based on what you saw,
Trade Jonas Valanciunas right now.
Well, yeah. One, is he like physically back after the Achilles? And two, do you see him getting minutes even in a front court that has Valanciunas backing up Jokic?
I think so. I'd be curious to see if he can play alongside another big, and I'd probably prefer it to be Jokic than Jonas Valanciunas, just because, duh.
Why wouldn't you?
Right. But so coming back from the Achilles injury, I was impressed with how well he did kind of hang in space. And when you're 6'9", it's kind of the expectation.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I'm curious to see how it would work against like NBA level playmakers and ball handlers and just that, like those type of physical tool guys. Like more like if he is someone who needed to switch on to use like Jeremiah Fears, just someone like that, like even just the blinding straight line speed. I'd just be curious to see how he handles that. But I'm actually more, I don't even know if it's worried. And this all comes with the caveat that I was so high on Zeke Naji. Like I drank the Kool-Aid for a few minutes on Zeke Naji. I'm wondering, like, did you view him as someone that you thought could actually play center at this level as being 6'9"?
I kind of did, but more in a change of pace, probably against second units type of thing, or just, you know what I mean? Like, because Jokic is on that team, it's just his opportunity. A player like Holmes' opportunities were going to be limited. But I always like the theory of him. You know, Bam Adebayo is an unfair comp, but someone more like that, where it's like, I don't know if he's going to hold up against the biggest guys, but maybe he survives in space, enables some switching looks, and gives Denver just a very different kind of way to play against certain matchups for short stints. Like that kind of thing is what I thought. I thought that might be possible for him. Maybe it is.
I think I could see it. I would love to see him just play a bunch of minutes with Aaron Gordon, because I feel like that might be Aaron Gordon can offset maybe a lot of, again, I think he did well in kind of those spatial moments, but I don't know if it's going to like translate. It felt like sometimes his body wasn't turned the right way, or he was a few beats too slow. But I look at him and I kind of want to see him, because he does like maybe the three, like he does have 3-point range. I think that's a big deal. But what's I think super interesting about him is that there's some passing there, like off the catch. Like if you wanted to try and use him in short roll situations, I think that he is like has the intuition to do something like that. He reminds me of on offense, is because he has like a driving game too. Is what if Nick Claxton didn't drive as much, but he also had a hesitation dribble and could space the floor a little bit. Like
So
that's what his
little Nas Reed, little Nick Claxton combo situation.
Right. So, and I think you have to be encouraged with what he shot for most of the time from deep in summer league. And I think even just getting to like his spots on the floor, like fanning out in transition, like getting to the corners, that's something he did really well. And so I'm curious to see if he could get minutes, because honestly, the player that I think he would have to beat out for minutes, and I don't think it's out of the question, would be a Peyton Watson, right? Because if Peyton Watson's not giving you enough on offense, do you think that you can get enough on defense out of, Peyton Watson's going to be better in like the one-on-one situations, but do you think you can get enough of him playing next to a Gordon or next to a Jokic to where, well, like maybe we want to test out and see what he can do on offense if he's a little bit more consistent there?
I think that makes a lot of sense, just because what Peyton Watson's good at, it matters, but I think like it's sort of additive. Whereas like if you're a good offensive big or like forward, combo forward, whatever you think Holmes is, that just feels more important to me. I guess, like, I don't know if that's just where the league is going, where again, kind of like how I asked earlier, like, can you just be a guy that only shoots threes and have offensive value? I think that just is another way of kind of getting to the idea that offense just matters more, I think, and like multi-skilled stuff, and Watson just hasn't really shown enough of that. So I think Watson still has a place, but like, if you're trying to figure out where Holmes is going to get his minutes, and you don't love him as a center by himself out there, then maybe it does eat into Watson's minutes, which maybe Denver's not mad about, because like that you lower Watson's value if you're trying to keep him. I don't know.
Just because after and I'm not, again, it's the Jonas Valanciunas, like getting him as your backup five, and he did just say that he's going to honor his contract with Denver, so like that just becomes a non-issue now. Like but it's just like DaRon Holmes seems like there's a real NBA player in there. I just don't know the pathway to him getting minutes is what. Like, I guess you can say he'll run three bigs deep, but if you view him as a five, I find it really difficult to believe that you might be like, he just might be getting more reps in the G League then. So
maybe.
I'm wondering if there's a way for him to, maybe like I could be like, I don't know if he could log minutes next to Jonas Valanciunas, but I'd be intrigued to see like if they want to use Jokic a little bit more aggressively on defense, and they have DaRon Holmes on the court, maybe during the minutes that Aaron Gordon's not or something. Is that something they could try? I don't know.
Well, they got to find a way to not. You got to preserve Aaron Gordon, I think. Yeah, so maybe that's where he gets his minutes. Is just guys get rest or nights off. Curtis Jones, he's the other Nuggets G leaguer. Maybe I tipped my hand there. Summer leaguer. We got to talk about.
He did already get a two-way. So from the Nuggets. So they thought he was a keeper. I think that was their last two-way spot. And as of now, anyway, like we know those things are pretty fungible. I think that was the right call just based on what we kind of saw. He had the 20-point performance against the Toronto Raptors. That was the primary attraction of his summer league. But he did kind of just validate that he belongs with the outside shooting improvement. He canned a bunch of threes in Vegas overall, and what I would say is like reasonable volumes. There was some just off the balance plays that were absolutely electric. He doesn't have the size or the strength to get all the way to the basket, at least consistently against those set defenses. But he really knows how to leverage the floor, and he's long enough. I think he's a 6'8" wingspan is what I have in my notes here, to make good on like some of the layups he hit or just shots in the restricted area when he did get there were just preposterous. And so just kind of like sort of a nice flyer here. Like, hey, let's see, you look at this team overall. I do not expect him to play, but if you're looking for someone as a backup ball handler, the options are pretty sparse at this point. That's not Bruce Brown's game, even at his peak, really. Jalen Pickett is Jalen Pickett. And after that, it's like Russell Westbrook's not back there. Like they would have been, I think Phoenix needed CP3 the most. I would have loved to have seen CP3 in Denver, though. That felt like such a good fit.
Yeah, what a weird thing to just have just a very different ball dominant orchestrator out there with other than Jokic. So do you? The one guy you didn't mention in running through the Jones issue is are Strother's minutes at risk here, or is it more just like, yeah, we don't know if Bruce Brown is going to be the ball handler?
I guess it depends on whether you trust Julian Strother to do a lot of the on-ball stuff. I think on-ball, I trust Curtis Jones more right now. Yeah. But in terms of just like we've seen the way Julian Strother will fly around the floor, like the three-pointers aren't always going to fall, but I don't know if Curtis Jones has that same level of just like motion shooting capability within him. So, and I also just can't see. I know the Nuggets want to prioritize development, but we're talking about if we don't think DaRon Holmes is going to have like a clear path to playing time. I don't know that just like when you have Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr. on this team as well, I would struggle to see him unless there's a bunch of injuries, seeing him, have any type of impact for this team.
All right. We did save the best for last, just because we went backwards. The
Dallas
Ryan Mavericks.
Nembhard.
Well, I mean, I've read and heard some interesting things about Nembhard, but we're not going to talk about him so much. Cooper Flagg, billed as jack of all trades, essentially weakness free, maybe not great at any one thing, like A+ on offense, maybe an A+ defender. I mean, the expectations and the hype were all over the place. Probably impossible for him to measure up to it. Only played 2 games, I guess. Had a bad one and a very good one. What did you see from him? Maybe the question is, because we kind of know the thumbnail sketch of like what he's supposed to be. What did you see from him that most aligned in a good way with the pre-draft billing, and what did you see from him that surprised you?
So the defense is no-note stuff for me. Like there'll probably just be moments where he gets burned, is in the wrong position, but like there's defensive playmaking and there's IQ there, and I wouldn't call him a 5-position defender, but you asked the question before, like which players can't he guard, and it's the ones who aren't in the game, basically. Yeah. And we're seeing, I think I've mentioned this to you, we've had a discussion about it. It just feels like some of these rookies, especially if they're bigs or maybe wing types, they're coming in and they're so much better defensively off rip. And he's going to be
a guarantee that a rookie was going to suck on defense. Like, I mean, almost across the board.
I'd be shocked if he is like one. I'd be shocked if he made an all-defensive team. But like, I maybe like if you're asking me, is he going to be Is he more likely to be terrible or make an all-defense team? I might actually have to think about that one. I guess the thing that most surprised me was just I thought his handle was going to be a little bit better, but I was also pleasantly surprised. Like he didn't really have any problems getting off jumpers. There was clearly 2 things that they said he needed to do. Was you need to operate on ball and try and create for everybody. And get off jumpers. And he did all of that. And I think the second game, he showed like the full breadth of his offensive arsenal. There was the floor running, there was the lob finishing, there was some pull-up touch. He had 3-point volume, there was driving and finishing, there was foul drawing. it was everything. And that's like pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
What I think is going to take time, and especially when you look at the handle and like the Mavs spacing, it might look fine in some lineups when you have a D-Lo, but can you play him with Klay Thompson? And then if you're going to play two bigs up front, like is PJ Washington and Najee Marshall, are they good enough? So I think that's going to give him some issues early on if you want him to be a primary ball handler. But just in terms of a play finisher, I think he's going to be great right off the bat. And I'm more optimistic about him becoming a primary ball handler, primary playmaker long term. And I'm more optimistic about the jump shot than I thought I was going to be.
Did you see enough? I know the Mavs like kind of admittedly like sort of threw him out there and asked him to do things like bring the ball up every time that like they probably won't this year. Maybe that is part of the plan long term. But did you see enough from him in that kind of role to make you confident that like, because the Mavs have this massive, I mean, Derek Lively's hurt again already, obviously, but like they have a glut of bigs. Did Flagg show enough to make you confident that, like, if he's just a 3, and again, I know I'm throwing caveats all over, like, the 3 and the 4 have become interchangeable, but you do still think of small forwards differently. Like, is a small forward version of Cooper Flagg, A, viable, and B, where you might get the most out of him, like on a normal team or the Mavs?
That's a really good question. I think he's ultimately going to need to be like a point forward. I think that's going to be his, at least. Do you know how kind of like LeBron James early on, like he had like a different level of athleticism than Cooper Flagg does, but like before he was a jump shooter, I could see Flagg maybe being a little bit better of a jump shooter, but he's not going to have the ability to maybe generate as much on ball separation as someone like that. But if you're going to use it, like if you're going to use him in a traditional small forwards role, I just like if you did that to LeBron James, wouldn't that have just felt like a waste and not his peak? And we haven't even really seen it. Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe the other way to approach it is like, can you play two bigs with Flagg and not sacrifice your wing defense and your spacing? You know, I mean, I guess you sacrifice some spacing, but
I have zero questions about the defense. I think that would be perfectly fine. It'll be even better when Anthony Davis is one of the bigs that you know is going to be on the court.
Right.
The offense, I just don't like if the ball's not going to be in his hands. Like, you know, because the problem is a lot of the stuff he can do off the ball is the stuff that like the bigs need to do off the ball. Like he's never going to be the primary screener if he's playing the 3. Even like, okay, getting out in transition, that's fine. Like he could do that. Sure. I just think he's going to need to come in and like, can you get up 6 threes a game and hit them at a 37.5% clip? I think he has the potential to do that. But, like, if that's the role, he kind of, like, I guess when you're saying small forward, I'm struggling to think, like, what would be the, not the same, like, this player archetype, but, like, whose role would you, are you trying to think about?
You're right. You're right to think of it in terms of role as opposed to position. Because, like, I don't know, Jason Tatum's a small forward, I guess, sometimes, maybe. And, like, but that doesn't mean he's the primary playmaker, you know, like, but there are also small, like, I guess you could say, we've talked about this, he's maybe more of a forward. Cam Johnson is a power forward / small forward, and he just does more catch and shoot. Like, so the position doesn't matter a ton, I guess. Maybe really what I'm asking is the role.
I think if you were going to make him more of an off-ball player to maybe he's your second or third ball handler, could he, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't thought about this, can he be Jaylen Brown, basically? And I would say yes. Because like Jaylen Brown's like not the most bankable shooter at the moment either.
And you're not always in love night to night with what he does attacking because the turnover stuff. Okay,
and the difference would be like,
he's also was the second best offensive player on a title winner. So like,
right. And the other thing is, it's just like I don't think Cooper Flagg is going to have the same just like I don't know what the word is, like oomph on his drives that Jaylen Brown.
Well,
can
yeah,
generate,
Brown's a crazy athlete.
Right. We don't feel good about Jaylen Brown being the primary ball handler. He has to be in this role. Cooper Flagg, I'd feel pretty good about being the primary ball handler. I'll say it doesn't feel like it's going to be necessary, though, if they don't want him to be that. But I would argue, you know, you said that maybe they're not going to do that, like, right out, like, from the jump. I think they should. Yeah. Like, because, like, Kyrie plays well off of everyone. D'Lo is, like, that's your other guard there. Like, mix and match with that. I'm absolutely – the thing that I would be concerned about, and I don't know if I'm, like, reading too much into it, is it felt like he was getting tired by playing on the ball so much. And so we're talking about – He did?
He's,
Okay.
Yeah, because he's like, I've never been picked up full court. One, because he probably didn't bring the ball up every single time. But yeah, no, I think that's a real thing you have to think about, because you would hate to cut into his defensive gas tank by forcing him to like burn a bunch of calories, bringing the ball up against pressure 30 times a game. Like that's definitely something you have to think about. But I think you're right in general that, like, look, we got to see if he can be the best version of Cooper Flagg is a guy that plays a super high leverage role, because if he's in that role, it means he proved that he could do it. And then, like, that's just what you want as Dallas. So I think I agree that it's right to just kind of overstretch him early and just kind of see like how he holds up. Because if he does fine, which he mostly did, then maybe you are just sort of seeing your way to, well, yeah, he's the jack of all trades, but also like he's gonna have the most touch time on the team. Like that's a possibility for him.
I'm going to just be very curious, because I don't know where I'm going to per your proprietary metrics, I'm curious where Dallas is going to grade out with their floor spacing.
Yeah.
And I think that might be important early on, to where, okay, then the moments are going to be ugly, but I still think that they need to put him in that type of role. And the other thing too is, I guess we might do this with all generational prospects, but there's like this lore of these stories that come out. Remember the one with the Olympics last year where NBA players were in awe? My favorite anecdote, I think this might have been Keith Smith had a Spotrac notebook. Maybe it was someone else who like put it out there, so I apologize if I'm missourcing this. But like, he wanted to play a third game in summer league, and the Mavs had to act. No, he's like, I want people to know that the second game wasn't a fluke. And it's just like, shit like that is, I'm sure a bunch of other players have done something similar. But the thing I was meant to tell you at the top is, do you remember 2 years ago, we actually recorded, I think we did a stream. We were covering Victor Wembanyama's game immediately after his first summer league game. People were so concerned. And maybe we were talking about it after the fact. And I told you, I came away thinking that he was going to be one of the best players I've ever watched in my entire life. And after his bad game,
I was going to say, yeah, I do remember that. You saw the bad game and were just hook, line, and sinker sold.
I saw the bad game, and I didn't feel the same way about Cooper Flagg that I did about Wemby. But I came away thinking, oh, like this, he's going to have double-digit All-NBA appearances. This is just like, this is a non. And that's,
I can't miss.
I don't know what his offensive role, I guess, shakes out to be, but I came away thinking, based off that game, I was like, oh, yeah, he doesn't need to play again. That's fine for me. I've seen enough.
Yeah. Okay. We've already talked about feel. So maybe the cliche that I am drawn to with him is like, he's just going to be a winner. Just like, to really drive home the coach speak stuff. Just because if you play that hard and you care that much and you defend that way, and I think, like, unlike Jaylen Brown, just to draw back to that comparison, I think Flagg is kind of like a right play machine, where it's like he just kind of wants to do the correct thing in a team sense with the basketball all the time. Like, that's just kind of winning stuff. Like, none of that matters if you don't have the physical tools, but like, he seems to have enough of that to where that's going to come through. I would agree. I don't feel the same way about him I did about Wembanyama, but some of that was just like the shock factor of like, what is this?
Why is this person who's 8 feet tall doing all these things?
Right. It's like, I've never seen this. Flagg, we've seen some version of this, but that's not to take anything away from him, because I think you've seen more than I have, but I just don't know how great he'll be. I do know that he's not going to fail. Like, that's out of the question to me.
He is one of the most bankable prospects that we've seen. And the other thing, though, too, I was going to ask you this question. I do feel, reading too far ahead, I think Kyrie's probably a perfect fit next to him. It's just someone who's played off of others who have the ball.
Sure. But
maybe if you don't want Cooper Flagg on the ball against against an OKC, putting Cooper Flagg on the ball is probably cruel and unusual punishment at this stage.
Yeah,
that's any team. But what's a solid defense that's not OKC? Like,
I mean, Orlando's a great defense. I'd feel way better about, because Suggs won't be on him, so it's like he'll be okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
So
yeah,
I do think that if the Mavs aren't going to play Anthony Davis at the 5 with Cooper Flagg as the other primary, I think that they're doing Cooper Flagg a disservice, because that gives him just, if you're playing on the court with Gafford and Davis or Lively and Davis versus playing on the court with just Davis as Cooper Flagg, the spacing is going to be just different. And I think
Right.
especially early on, but also, like, he can do stuff. I didn't mention this. Like, he has stuff he could just do in the post.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do that if you have two other bigs on the court. And so I think he can make it work. He's not even going to be able to get those, like, Jaylen Brown mid-post touches if he, like, the way that the Celtics use their bigs right now, because Anthony Davis, is he okay? Here's a question. Is Anthony Davis okay being the Al Horford if he gets to play power forward, to where you have to try and space the floor so that you could give Cooper Flagg those types of touches? I have no fucking idea. But I really hope that we get to see plenty of Cooper Flagg plus one big lineup.
Yeah.
And maybe injuries will work it out. Derek Lively's hurt as we record this, but I don't want anyone to be hurt is the thing.
Right. Right. No, I mean, you know, if you get into this with guys that can play a big spot that also can shoot, it's like, well, so that's what I was getting at earlier. It's like, well, I guess that means we can get away with two bigs. It's like, no, you shouldn't really be hoping to get away with two bigs. You should be trying to space the floor with one, that so as to maximize a player like Flagg's, like, various abilities. Because you're right, like, you know, we were talking about Hansen, and it was like, well, can you guard him with a small? It's like, if you put a small guy on Flagg, he's going to eat him alive. Like, he will just put him in the basket. And so you want to create situations like that. If you're playing him at the 3, it's just, there's going to be more bigs out there. It's going to be harder for him to pick on matchups. So yeah, I agree. Like, it would be by far the best situation for him to just Davis is the 5 or Gafford or whoever, and you don't see two big looks, I don't think.
I do think, though, if they're going to play the two big looks with Flagg, I mean, just look at the other defenders on this roster. Like, even P.J. Washington, Najee Marshall, Caleb Martin, if he's healthy, Max Christie. I don't know if I'm going to say this team would be they have top 5 defensive potential. We had a lot of shit in the comments when we were doing West tiers that we were too high on the Mavericks. And I think that they're going to settle into somewhere in the middle just because there will be growing pains with Flagg. I think the offense is going to struggle, at least until Kyrie comes back. But, like, the defensive ceiling on this team, regardless of what type of lineups they're running out, by the way, I think it's through the roof.
I agree. Just the size. Like, you just ran through, like, the Christies and Washingtons. Like, they could put 6'8" or above lineups on the floor, no problem. Like, especially if Flagg really can't handle the ball. Like, that's
Flagg, Marshall, Washington, Davis, and then Lively. I don't know what the shooting looks like in there, but you could certainly try that.
Or you could just have Clay out there, and he's your smallest guy at 6'7". So I there are a lot of ways to go defensively. And you can sort of game it if you do it right with enough shooting. I don't know. That's a conversation for another day. Anything else to add? Any superlatives you'd like to throw out?
Start, bench, or G League, Grant? We didn't answer the question.
We're starting him. You got to start him.
I'm G Leaguing him.
Just make him earn. You got to earn your stripes these days. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't proved anything. So make him prove it.
My one shout out, I lost the chat already, but we're not talking about sophomores. Shout out to AJ Mitchell for what he proved in summer league, and that's that. How many times we need, like, a button that shows, OKC just did it again. We kind of already knew that because before he got injured last year, he showed it. But shout out to him. I think he was probably the sophomore. Maybe, I don't know if you want to say the most impressive one, but he could have been the most impressive one. But I came away thinking just, like, this guy would start on, like, 15 other teams right now, and he's OKC's 10th man or something.
Was he the number one, like, why are you here guy for you of the summer league players you watched?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to, it was him or Reed Sheppard. I mean, let's just be. Way
to bring it back. All right, anything else to add besides your AJ Mitchell praise, which I respect?
No, I hope people enjoy this. This was a little bit different than the stuff we don't typically go deep into summer league, but I had to do it, so I figured why not give it a shot.
So we had to do it. Thanks everybody for watching, for listening, commenters especially, appreciate it. Please remember, wherever you're consuming this, rate, review, subscribe, leave us a thumbs up on YouTube, leave us some comments there as well. Anybody we missed, anybody you disagree with, all that stuff's great. Join our Discord, links in the YouTube and podcast description. Until next time, when we do the East Summer League report cards, I guess. Shouts, Frank Ntilikina. Apologies, Jared Allen.